25-year-old Nicole Newton is suing her former friend, Michael Danner, for rolling her Jeep. Nicole says the accident was a result of a heated argument.
Yeah, this is case number 7 on the calendar in the matter of Newton versus Danner. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Newton, Mr. Danner was a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
There were 4 people traveling in a car. It was your car?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, Mr. Danner took control of the car, you say without your permission, and he wrecked it.
Yes.
Mr. Danner acknowledges that he took your car. Mr. Danner acknowledges that he took your car without your permission. And Mr. Danner acknowledges that he wrecked the car. So far, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
His defense is that he took the car because he feared for his safety, and it was the only way to get away from a situation that was dangerous. When did this happen, Miss Newton?
November 17th of 2005. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening.
Who was in the car?
My husband, Craig, was driving.
Is that him?
Yes. And myself was in the passenger front seat, and then Mike Danner and Peggy Thornton were in the back seat of the vehicle.
What happened?
Me, Mike, and Peggy had just got off from work in Plattsburgh, and I gave him rides to work. We all worked together in a factory, and we were cut back to St. Joe and picked up my husband to take him to get his paycheck in Atchison, Kansas. And sometime in between the factory where he works at and going back over the Kansas Bridge into Missouri, where we live at, there was a heated argument about several different things, one of them being an affair that happened between Mike's ex-girlfriend and my husband. And
Mike's
ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend and your husband.
Yes, and Mike got really excited, kind of upset, agitated, and jumped out of the vehicle on the Mocan Bridge, which is in between Kansas and Missouri. And me and Peggy got him back into the car in the back seat, and he proceeded to start beating on Peggy in the back seat. We tried to get into the back of the vehicle to get him off of Peggy, but both rear doors were locked, and my husband, Craig, he decided to go over the seats at Mike, and there was a struggle or some sort, and then Mike was in the front seat, and the next thing I know, I woke up next to the side of the road because I'd been hit with the car door on the back of my head. When he pulled it into gear, it locked in reverse, so he had to push the button to pull it down into drive to take off with it, and then he proceeded. My husband told me he dragged him a good half a block up the road when he was taking the vehicle. And then he went for help when I was knocked out, and the police come, and 2 farmers came and told me my Jeep was up a half mile up the road, flipped over, and no sign of Mike or Peggy, and they were both in the vehicle when it took off.
When he took off, where was Peggy? Still in the back seat?
Yeah, she was still in the rear.
Stand up. Were you in the car when the car flipped over?
Yes, ma'am.
You were in the back seat of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Danner was driving the car, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to Mr. Danner driving the car, was he sitting in the back passenger seat next to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he go over the front seat?
Yes, ma'am.
When he took off, did you say anything to him?
Yes, ma'am. I said to please stop or slow down.
You yelled?
I yelled.
Did he answer you?
No.
While he was sitting in the back seat of the car next to you, did he hit you?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
At least 3.
I never hit him.
Yeah, you may be seated. I'm very effective.
I know.
So no matter how much rehearsing you did, it doesn't help. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Now, Mr. Danner, you're going to explain to me your answer, which, quite frankly, I found slightly convoluted, why you are not responsible to the damage to Miss Newton's car. So far, let me tell you what we know to be the fact. You were driving this car. You took it without permission. You took it after you were assaulting your girlfriend. You did not get out of the car. You jumped over the front seat. You were driving too fast because that's what she says.
I never assaulted her, though.
Your Honor,
Is she still your girlfriend?
Yeah.
You think that this lady would say that you hit her when you didn't hit her?
She was drunk. That's one thing we left out. We was all drunk.
She may be drunk. Then she would say to me, I don't remember him hitting me. Mr. Danner, she would say, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But your girlfriend, with whom you probably slept last night, is not going to tell me, a perfect stranger, that you hit her at least 3 times when you didn't. Do you understand?
Maybe I was drunk and I don't remember.
Oh, that's perfect. That I like. Were you drunk?
Oh, yeah. We was drunk.
You were drunk.
Yeah.
So you had no business driving the car.
Nope, none of us should have never been driving. It never would have happened.
Unfortunately, Mr. Danner, nobody was driving the car except you when it flipped over.
No, we was drunk when we got off work.
Listen to me very carefully, Mr. Danner. You had the misfortune of being behind the wheel, driving too fast when the car flipped over. Now, on November 17th, if I were a drinking person, I might have been drunk. If Bird were a drinking person, he might have been drunk. But that wouldn't have made any difference because we weren't driving the car.
Exactly. So
You would listen to me.
I wouldn't be driving with you,
You
if you was
weren't
drunk.
dri-
Would you get in a car with me and drive if I was drunk right now?
What did he say?
Would you get in a car and drive with me if I was drunk right now? Knowing I was drunk. Would you get in a car and drive
Listen
with
to me, sir.
I'm listening to you.
No, you're not. I think maybe it'll be helpful if you take your hands out of your pockets.
Yes, ma'am.
And uncross them. Hands at your sides. You chose to get into the car with the plaintiff and her husband. If they were all drinking and you got into the car with them, that's your choice. If the car had flipped over with her driving the car and she was drunk and you were hurt, she would have been responsible for your injuries. Do you understand?
So they should be responsible for my girlfriend's injuries. When I was driving, their insurance should be.
What law school did you graduate from, Mr. Danner?
Missouri Department of Corrections.
As an inmate?
Yeah.
There you go. People who graduate from prison law school, sir, very rarely get to the Supreme Court. In the history of this nation, nobody has ever made it to the Supreme Court who's a graduate of prison law school. So why don't you stop being a wise guy and just
Yes,
listen?
ma'am.
Because I guarantee you, in this little discourse that we're having, you're not going to win.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You can't pick your relatives. You can, however, pick your friends.
Yes, ma'am.
I suggest you slough off this group.
And later today,
Were you going on trial for a felony?
Yes.
He was convicted of his
I was not
charges.
convicted.
You were found guilty.
There was no witnesses in that. There was nothing, so it's just sick.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicole Newton says former friend Michael Danner owes for rolling her Jeep on the highway. Michael says the accident happened when he was attacked by Nicole's husband.
Now, I want you in 30 seconds or less tell me why you're not responsible for the damage to Miss Newton's car.
For one, I was in fear of my life because her husband was beating me up once, and he told me he was going to beat me up again. And she jumped out of a Jeep with a billy club, so I took off, and basically that's it. And we should have never been drinking and driving. Nobody should be drinking and driving a vehicle.
That's your defense?
Yep, that's my defense.
Can I see the estimate on the damage, please? What an idiot.
Your Honor, there's one here that has the list of labor and parts from the dealer, and then the other one's just a printout of just the parts, which is what we were asking for.
How long has he been your boyfriend?
Almost a year.
You have children?
No.
Perfect. You have photographs of the car?
Yeah.
I'd like to see them, please.
I have also this one. If you want to give her that one, it's off. Okay.
They going to be able to fix this car?
Yeah, we've already started on it, Your Honor, out of our own pocket expense, just because that's my only means of transportation.
Is the limit in your small claims court $3,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that why you're only suing for $3,000?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You can't, Miss Newton, pick your relatives. You can, however, pick your friends.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes life gives us an advantage, and we're able to, despite the fact that we're stuck with relatives, we can get rid of them if they are not a positive part of our lives, right?
Yeah.
But it's certainly much easier to do with friends.
Yep.
Right? I suggest you slough off this group. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Don't think they should have won. They're a bunch of losers and meth heads anyway.
No, I don't use crystal meth. I'd pee for somebody today.
He was beating on her. I went around to try to stop him, pull him off of her.
He says that his girlfriend was flashing somebody, but I didn't see it.
She was flashing Mr. Newton, and she was drunk.
Well, 3 balls of Jack Daniels, what would you be doing?
He jumped in the front, tore off, drugged me 50, 60 foot down the gravel road as I was trying to stop him, and rolled us both in the ditch.
We learned a lot, actually. I mean, he was a real long-term friend, him and his son, and no longer.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Willis versus Hunter. Step forward.
Nellie Willis is suing her daughter's ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Walter Hunter, for unpaid credit card charges. Nellie claims she was trying to help Walter establish his credit.
Miss Willis, are you a working lady?
Yes, I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for the Department of Defense, United States Air Force, as a tool and parts attendant.
How long have you been doing that?
18 years.
What about you, Mr. Hunter? What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrician. I also work on Tinker Air Force Base.
Miss Willis, you don't make a whole bunch of money, do you?
No.
I'm going to give you and anybody else out there who wants to listen some very good advice. Never, never get somebody a credit card. Children, brothers, sisters, friends, don't ever give somebody a credit card, which is what you did. You gave Mr. Hunter, who was then your daughter's boyfriend, a credit card. Put your hands off your hips. Ostensibly, to help him build up his credit. You did that in 2003 while they were still together. Mr. Hunter proceeded to use the credit card. I gather from your statement that you did not use this credit card at all. Is that right?
Yes, I did use the credit card.
Well, do you expect me to go through 3 years' worth of statements to see what he purchased and what you purchased?
No, I have the statements, but it was only for 3 months.
He only made purchases for 3 months?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll take a look at it. And then you say he made payments sporadically, then he stopped making payments 2004. He and your daughter broke up. He asked you to extend him a little bit of time because you were going on trial, sir. Is that right, for a felony?
No, I paid her.
Were you going on trial for a felony?
Yes.
And according to the plaintiff, she said, fine, we'll wait until the trial is over, because she had those expenses. You were tried and I assume acquitted, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then she expected you to continue to make the payments on the credit card.
Your Honor, he was convicted of his charges.
I was not convicted, Your Honor.
If he was convicted, he probably wouldn't be here today. This was a serious felony, according to you.
Which has nothing to do with the case.
Well, it has to do with your veracity, sir, and whether or not you could stand there and lie to me.
Okay.
That's what it has to do with. I mean, it is an issue. And notice I was very careful not to get into the particulars of the case because it is particularly sensitive. And if you were, in fact, acquitted, I certainly didn't want to reveal the nature of the charges. But if what you're telling me is that it really has nothing to do with it, now I'm going to see a statement that you have that would indicate that this young man told me a lie. Sir, it says here that you pled guilty.
To a deferred sentence.
To what?
It was a deferred sentence.
I didn't ask you what the sentence was. You weren't acquitted. It said here you pled guilty. That's not acquitted.
It's acquitted.
No, it isn't. And you know it.
Well, it is acquitted after a period of time. It's 5 years.
Now, the state recommends 5 years deferred until 1/23/11. Unsupervised probation, you were fines and costs. The court accepts the plea recommendation.
I accept, but what I'm saying is, after that 5 years, it goes away, so it's acquitted, basically.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, sir.
That's what I was
You were
told.
found guilty, and you were found guilty by your own plea of guilty. The sentence was deferred. You had a deferred sentence for 5 years. Who was the complainant in that case?
The state.
Okay, now, according to your complaint, you gave him a period of time where he didn't have to pay on this credit card because he was on trial for this very serious felony. And he asked you for a little bit of latitude because he had expenses. Did you pay your lawyer?
Yes, I did. And then she had a problem with my character before. She should have did an OCN check on me before I dated her daughter or came near anything near your house.
Mr. Hunter, don't speak to her.
The fact
Don't
that
speak
she
to her.
brings it up now is irrelevant.
Now, the charges, sir, are not necessarily relevant to this proceeding. The fact that you lied to me when you said you were acquitted of those charges is, in fact, relevant because you told me you were acquitted of those charges with the same look on your face as you were answering all my other questions, so I believed you. And unless she had the court documents which indicate that you were found guilty of those charges and only sentence was deferred and you were found guilty by virtue of your own plea, and you had had a lawyer from the very beginning advise you, a lawyer who you paid, so the lawyer told you that by pleading guilty you would be found guilty. And the only thing that was being deferred was the sentence, if in fact you paid fines.
Yeah, it's been paid. It paid off. I paid that off.
Well, and that's why you asked her for a little time so that she would have to cover these bills that were on the credit card. That's her statement. Now I believe her.
I was acquitted of the charges, the original charges. What I was guilty for were different charges.
Sir, you keep insisting. Notice, I did not say what the charge was. What did you plead guilty to?
To using a computer to break an Oklahoma statute. That's what I was charged for.
You're a fancy dancer, sir. You were originally charged with rape. What did you plead guilty to?
No guilt, not guilty. I wasn't.
What did you plead guilty to? Using a computer? Is that what you're telling me? On a rape charge, you pled guilty to using a computer?
No, I didn't. I was not guilty for that. And that's why there was no witnesses in that. There was nothing, so there was the witnesses wouldn't the witnesses for the witness of the girl wouldn't show up.
Would you show this to him, please? Tell him to look at the highlighted charges.
This is sick.
Are you contesting any of those charges, sir?
No, ma'am.
$4,735. Now, how much did you repay her?
I paid her for what I felt was reasonable to what I felt I owed her.
How much did you pay her?
I paid her over $700-something.
Let's say you paid her $700, sir.
Okay.
And some of this was back 2 years.
Can I explain? There was over $4,000 in charges.
No, there were $4,735 in charges, and that's without any interest. So if you hadn't paid all of this amount, it's probably close to $6,000 or more that you owe her. Now explain to me, if you paid her $700, that would bring the total down to $5,300.
Well,
Explain the rest.
I did date her daughter for a long period of time. I spent a lot of time out at their house. I did a lot of work because I was unemployed off and on. So her mom gave me duties such as yard work. They had lived on property. I built computers for her. I did computer service work for her. I filmed and taped an older daughter of hers, her wedding. I edited it, made DVDs for her. A lot of work, and I never got paid for it. And the money I should have been paid for that, I would have been making my credit card payments with that money, but she never paid me. So I used the credit card as payment. I never got paid for anything. She thinks she can feed me peanuts.
Is this your husband? Yeah. Good luck to you. Your parents like him?
Yes.
Yeah, I doubt that. I doubt that a whole bunch. You have children?
Yes.
With him?
Yes.
How many?
2.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Good luck to you. Consider yourself and your daughter very, very lucky. That's all.
Others are excused. You may step out.
19-year-old Joshua Benson is suing his aunt, Michelle Benson, for stealing money allocated for his college tuition.
Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Hello. Now, this is case number 54 on the calendar in the matter of Benson versus Benson. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
What's your first name, Mr. Benson?
Joshua.
Joshua, this is your aunt and your adoptive mother.
Correct.
She is your mother's sister?
Correct.
According to your complaint, you went to live with her on a full-time basis when you were around 15 years old?
Actually, it was 13.
And you lived with her until you left for college?
No, actually, Your Honor, I'm still in high school. I moved out April of last year when I turned 18 to finish my senior year.
Your claim is that while you were living with Miss Benson, you were working.
Correct.
And you had an agreement with her that you would turn over part of your paycheck to her, that she would save for you for college. She would open up an account, and she would save that money for
Correct.
you. And it is your claim that she did not do that.
Correct.
She used that money for herself, and you want that money. You're getting ready to go to school, and you want that money.
Correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Benson says that you did, in fact, contribute to the household. You worked. You gave her some money. That money was a contribution for things for the household and some of your own expenses, and there was never any agreement to put the money away for you for college. That's your defense. Is that right?
Correct.
All right, let's turn back the clock a bit. What kind of work were you doing?
My first job was at Tanner's Steakhouse in Andover.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was a dishwasher. I worked Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
And when did you have this discussion with Miss Benson about saving for college?
It had always been a thing when I started looking for a job. It was always said that if I got a job, half my paychecks would be put into savings for a college savings
And what'd you
account.
do with the other half?
And the other half was for me to do whatever I wanted with.
Spending money.
Exactly.
And how do you know how much money you gave her over the years?
I have the checks from when I opened up my checking account when I was 16. It was a joint checking account with her and myself. I have the checks that I wrote out to her specifically. In the memo, it said 529 plan or college savings, which are right here.
May I
yes.
see them, please?
When I wrote the checks out to her, she was supposed to take them, deposit them into her checking account, and then she was to take them out of her checking account and put them into the 529 plan, which was supposed to be through T. Rowe Price.
Your Honor.
I didn't ask you anything. Sit down. You're his mother?
Yes.
Didn't ask you anything. You have some checks and some bank statements.
Yeah, all of them have bank statements, and I've stapled the checks that go according to the bank statements.
Okay. So, Joshua, what happened when you turned 18?
I turned 18 January 27th of 05. I lived with her until April of 05. In April of 05, I got another job up by my mom's, and I moved back in with my mom. I finished out my junior year.
Even though her parental rights have been terminated?
Correct.
You have brothers and sisters, Joshua?
I have one.
How old?
He is 9.
Who does he live with?
He lives with my mom.
Has he always lived with your mother?
Correct.
Is there any reason why you went to live with your aunt when you were 13?
My mom had me when she was very young, and we never really got along. And therefore, I had been in the system for a while. And
You mean in foster care?
Correct. I had been in 3 different foster homes.
Starting at age what? Put your hand down.
I was rather young. I was about 5 or 6. I went into my first foster home, and then I went and moved back in with my mom. And then I went into a different one, which she put me in. The first foster home, my mom did not. It was my other aunt. My mom had just had back surgery and all that.
Okay. Then you went into yet another foster home.
Correct.
How long did you stay there?
I stayed there 2 years, and then I moved back in with my mom again. And then the last time that I went into foster care, that was when the parental rights got terminated and I was adopted.
Okay, but when you went back into foster care, how old were you when you went to live with your aunt initially?
I was going on my 14th birthday.
Yes.
He actually was 12. He came to live with me when he was 12. The last time he went into foster care, he was 10 years old. And I actually have documentation here. Thought I would bring for your benefit.
Just a second.
Okay.
Put it down. I know the way the system works.
Actually, Your Honor, I was 13 because I did celebrate my 13th birthday at my last foster home and had a birthday party.
Okay. At what age were you when you were formally adopted?
I do believe I was 15.
Is that right?
No.
How old was he?
Well, it was 2002, and so he would have been 14.
So he lived with you for a year in foster care.
That's why I was raising my hand, because the last time he went into foster care, he was 10, because his baby brother, half biological baby brother, was born, and that's when Cheryl gave him up for the last time.
Listen to me very carefully. According to you, he came to live with you when he was 12. According to him, he was 13. But he lived with you as a foster child for at least a year before he was adopted. So just listen, put on the listening ears. And while he was living with you when he was 13, until the time he was adopted, you were getting a subsidy for him. How much?
Wow, you know, to be honest with you, I don't remember.
Maybe Joshua remembers. How much was she
If I remember
receiving?
correctly, I was told it was about $1,200 a month. And Your Honor,
Now, just a second. I'm not finished. When your sister's parental rights were terminated and Joshua was adopted, you continued to receive a subsidy for him.
Yes, I did.
Because that's what we call in this country a subsidized adoption. Something very few people know about, but fortunately I know about it. And $1,200 appears to be right because Joshua was probably at that point a hard-to-place child. And so you accepted him into your home. You received $1,200 a month, and that was continued after the adoption became final. So it's not as if Joshua had to provide for his own room, board, etc., because you were receiving money from the government for that purpose. Put your hand down, Joshua. I'm about to come to your aunt.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What happened to his money?
It was spent on him.
You can't do that. You had absolutely no right to spend the money on him. None.
And later today,
I don't want it to be breaking in my pen.
Then somehow you're going to have to secure the pen even better than it's secured.
It keeps my dog in.
Maybe not.
I mean, I'm not a liar.
Joshua Benson claims his aunt, Michelle Benson, stole his college tuition money. Michelle says the money went toward Joshua's living expenses.
Okay. What happened to his money?
It was spent on him.
You can't do that. That's what the state paid you for.
To not spend the money on him?
The state paid you to take care of him. All of his checks, which were written in different ink, indicate the memo portion of the checks that it was to be put in a 529 plan. That's an educational plan. And you had absolutely no right to spend the money on him. None. That's what you were paid for by the government. You get it?
Yes.
Can
Good.
I add something to that?
Does it sound like you're losing, Joshua?
No.
I mean, I get it. Unfortunately, the public doesn't get it. The public believes, well, then this was an act of goodwill. Your aunt took you in. She supported you. I'm speaking. Put a roof over your head, food on the table. So if you were working, helping to defray your own costs, what's wrong with that? But the truth is, the citizens of this country were supporting you by giving your aunt money before and after she adopted you. And after you moved out, I assume that money stopped, although I'm not exactly sure because the money very often goes until age 21 unless somebody notifies them that that money's supposed to stop. Do you know if the money stopped?
Actually, not only was she receiving the adoption assistance, she was also receiving Social Security for me in the amount of $563. And I did not find this out until I moved out in April and I received a check in the mail from the Social Security Administration. And then I called them and was like, well, when did I start getting this? And they told me in 2002, you started receiving this. Well, when I turned 18, they informed me they started coming in my name. I was not aware of the fact that I was ever receiving this.
I got it. What do you want to say?
I want to say that when I was receiving adoption assistance for him was after the fact, and that only went until I was able to claim his as a dependent, and he is a very spendy...
Just a second. The adoption subsidy stopped when, Ms. Benson?
Oh my gosh, the adoption assistance only went for like a year or two. You could check with the state on that. It was not very...
Listen to me. A year or two. And the Social Security?
Started when I applied for Social Security, and it was legal for me to claim him because he was not...
Why did you apply to Social Security?
Because I have MS. I have a disability. I only work part-time.
So you applied for Social Security disability for yourself, and he is a dependent child. Is that right?
Right.
This is some America. This is some system. You owe him $4,660. Pay it. Good luck, Joshua.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Joshua is living in the household of his biological mother, who terminated her parental rights but yet kept a baby. I don't know. You do the math on that one.
I think it's just bitterness. The fact that, I moved back with my mom and now I have nothing to do with her.
I think Michelle likes to make me out to be the worst person in the world.
It's not me trying to, say, oh, she's a terrible person and, trying to make an opinion about something. It's not an opinion. It's a fact.
I've tried reconnecting and I always get hurt in the end and it's just not worth it to me anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Kasparian versus Felton. Step forward, please.
Grace Kasparian is suing her neighbors, Greg and Amanda Felton, for breeding fees, vet bills, and the cost of a DNA test for her German Shepherd, Goody.
Ms. Kasparian, this is a rather interesting lawsuit. You and the defendant are neighbors.
Not immediate neighbors, but down the road a ways.
And you have large parcels of property. How many acres are you on?
A little under 12.
And you?
Just under 6.
You have a beautiful German Shepherd.
Thank you. She's a real good girl. Her name is Goody.
And you have a
yellow lab.
It is your claim, Ms. Kasparian, that your dog, who you have bred in the past and whose litters you have sold, was in heat, and somehow the Felton's dog got off their property, came onto your property, and mated with Goody?
Yes.
Goody, that's you.
If you call her much more, she'll be over there.
She'll be over there.
No, she won't.
She's got a wonderful face. Anyway, Goody had a litter of puppies, and DNA tests were done.
Yes.
And it was established that you two are almost related. You claim that because of that you had financial losses, and you want the Feltons to be responsible for those losses. So I assume that you gave away the puppies?
Actually, there was 2 break-ins, but the first one is what the lawsuit is all about. I did sell the puppy. I had 2 black puppies, and my contract calls for that I could have, that I would get 3 live puppies. So
what are you talking about?
I have a contract here that I had her bred to with the Sable up in Washington.
Okay, so you had losses because you could have sold the puppies for more money.
What happened was
Your dog had a litter of puppies. How many?
2 black puppies. And I had them advertised as high-end European working dog backgrounds.
Okay, and it turned out, shh, listen to me. We're going to cut to the chase here because I have other cases to do.
Okay.
Turned out that their dog fathered that litter?
Yes.
And you established that and they concede that because DNA tests were done. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
But your defense is that you don't know whether your dog went on their property or her dog came on your property.
Correct.
We have no record of Koa ever running off the first time.
When was the first time she delivered puppies that were not purebred?
May.
May of 2005. Okay. And there is a 63, because I have a little knowledge of this, there's a 63-day gestation period. Is that right?
I had her bred on about the 17th of February, and it was 67 days from the date of her last breeding.
What proof do you have that their dog, during that time, on or around mid to late February, was on your property and impregnated your dog?
Well, my dog was never out of her pen.
She never ran free?
No.
No, she does. When I run the loop, we have a 3-mile around loop, and when I run the loop, my dogs are always on leashes. Her dog has come out and chased mine and scared mine to where I have to pull them along, so her dog is loose.
Not when she was in season. Never when she was in season was she out running loose. She was always confined, always penned up. But when she's not in season, and of course,
when did you see her dog out loose?
Regularly when I run.
We have a horse and she runs with, she's outside. But never, Judge Judy, when she was being bred, did she ever was out of her pen.
Miss Kasparian, if she was never out of her pen, somehow their dog got into the pen.
Correct.
Is that right? How did their dog get into the pen?
Their dog gets out of a 6-foot chain link pen.
Just listen to me. Pen, chain link, correct? How did their dog, did it go over the pen? Or did it burrow under the pen?
I have copies of my fence, and I think what happened was it might have jumped in the back and went up on the doghouse and got in. This is not the first time he's jumped in people's pens.
Listen to me. There's a lot of speculation, Miss Kasparian. My problem with your complaint is that one way or another, either your dog got out of the pen or their dog got into the pen. And without proof, Miss Kasparian, of which way it was, you can't surmise that their dog got in.
But it did.
Miss
It did get in. My dog was never out, and it was notorious for breaking in pens. It broke out of his to get into mine.
No, he didn't.
He was
Just a second.
ferocious.
We don't know that, Miss Kasparian. You don't know how their dog got into your pen. Could have jumped over, jumped on a doghouse, jumped over the fence. Your dog could have jumped on the doghouse and jumped over the fence. Could have burrowed under the fence. Your dog could have burrowed under the fence. I'm not saying to you that's how it happened, but I'm saying to you we're in a court.
I know, but I'm telling you as a honest and swore to tell the truth that my dog was never out of the pen, that I kept a real good eye on her.
You can't keep a good eye on your dog all the time. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous, Ms. Kasparian. I know that you say that you're telling me the truth. I believe that you believe that their dog got into your pen, and it very well might have. But you have to have proof, because this is a court.
You mean I had to have seen the dog in the pen?
That would have been helpful. Ms. Kasparian, she looks like a wonderful dog, and you have 2 large pieces of property, and we're in a court, and I cannot make a judgment with a reasonable degree of certainty that I'm comfortable with whose dog got in and whose dog got out. It's very possible that because when a dog is in heat, dogs come from all over. That scent goes for miles and miles and miles. So it's more than probable that your dog somehow found his way into her pen. That's more than likely. That's what you know about dog breeding. Girls don't usually want to run out, but the boys want to certainly get in. But I'm merely taking judicial notice of that, something that I'm able to do. That's not proof. What a wonderful dog she is. She's spectacular personality.
She's
How old is she?
A therapeutic dog. And
how old is she?
She's going to be 6.
She's wonderful. Are you planning on breeding her again?
And that's why I wait. Well, depending on how this turns out.
Miss Kasparian, this is going to turn out just fine because you're taking your dog home with you, and you have your health and your dog is wonderful, it is not going to turn out well financially, as I just explained to you. I'm not comfortable making a judgment that their dog, without proof, somehow jumped your fence, got into your pen because of their lack of control of their dog, and fathered this litter.
Well, can they say something about how their dog gets out of their pen and how they can't keep it in? I mean, their dog runs wild. It's got litters all over the neighborhood.
It's a lover. That's not the issue.
I know, but I don't want it to be breaking in my pen.
Then somehow you're going to have to secure the pen even better than it's secured.
It keeps my dog in.
Maybe not.
It does. My dog is... I mean, I'm not a liar.
Miss Kasparian, I'm not saying you're a liar. You're not watching the dog in your pen all the time. Your dog has been out of the pen, has been out on your 12 acres roaming free, running after the horses.
Not when she's in season.
Oh, Miss Kasparian, we're not going to go about this. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh, I can't believe this.
24-year-old Piero Fanini is suing Chris Barabee for denting his truck with his head. Piero claims a drunken Chris fell into his vehicle during a USC football game.
Yeah, this is case number 25 on the calendar in the matter of Fanini versus Barabee.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Fanini, you are not a witness to the events that took place during this ball game, but it is your claim that the defendant, probably while drunk, dented your car using his head.
Correct.
He fell or tripped over, fell or tripped or whatever, but
Correct.
damaged your car. The defendant vigorously denies the allegations. I'm not certain whether he recalls what happened on that day, but he says that that just could not have happened. Give me the date of this incident,
It was
please.
December 3rd, 2005,
Where was it?
in downtown Los Angeles at the Coliseum, Los Angeles Coliseum.
How did you advised that your car was damaged?
I was exiting the game maybe a couple minutes early, and I just got back to my
Look
car.
at me. Stay focused on me.
I got back to my car. Well, my witness, Jordan, was calling me. Guess the calls weren't going through. I got back to my car, and he told me the whole story. I guess he talked to the police. The whole situation was over when I got back to my car.
Okay. You're Jordan?
Yes.
Jordan, you have a last name?
Yusum.
Had you gone to the game together?
It was in the same car we went together, yes.
Why were you exiting separately?
I never got into the game. I don't have season tickets to the game. And we usually just end up buying tickets in the parking lot because it was a big game. Tickets were either too expensive or I just couldn't find tickets to get into the game.
So what did you do? You stayed out in the car?
Yeah, me and a buddy, we tailgated the game, we barbecue, we bring a TV.
Is that what tailgating means? I wasn't sure. I read it in your complaint. It means you opened up the tailgate of the car and you sort of have a picnic in the parking lot.
Yeah, we have a picnic, barbecue, we
Got
bring
it.
a TV, watch the pregame.
And they don't mind that you do that?
No. Football game, a lot of people do it at this particular parking lot. People get there early.
So you were outside?
Yes.
What happened?
It was towards the fourth quarter of the game. In the fourth quarter of the game, I was sitting at the back driver's side rear, outside of the car, watching the TV that was sitting in the tailgate or in the trunk of Piero's truck.
Can I interject?
No.
Thanks.
I had a sight line down the driver's side of the car and noticed out of the corner of my eye that someone had fallen at the front of Piero's car. I got up to see what had happened. I noticed there was a large dent in the front of Piero's car. I turned around for whatever reason, and there were actually two police officers on bicycles right behind me. I got their attention. By the time they came back and turned around within a matter of a few seconds, the person who had dented the car was gone. I described to the police officers what he looked like.
Do you recall what description you gave to the police officers?
Tall white guy, about 6'6".
Had you actually seen him either fall or get up after he fell?
No, I saw him at the base of the car. The dent is right above the front driver's side wheel, and I saw him basically on the ground right there. When I went to go see what happened, I saw there was a dent in the car.
Now, when you went to see what happened, what did this person do?
He was still on the ground. He didn't do anything at that point. I noticed there was a dent, and because it wasn't my car, I didn't want to get involved in it. I had nothing really to do with it. I turned around for whatever reason. There happened to be two police officers there. By the time I got their attention and they came over to me, it was a matter of 10 feet. The person who was at the base of the car was gone at that point.
So you actually saw the face of the person who dented the car?
No, I believe I saw their back.
Did you describe their clothing?
No.
Okay, so you saw only the back?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Described to the police officers what the person looked like. The police officers on the bicycle.
From the back?
From the back, yeah. Basically a tall white guy.
And you could tell that from his position on the ground?
Yeah, he was a big guy on the ground.
Okay.
Described to the police officers, they biked around within a few cars, 25-yard circle for a minute or so. Didn't see anyone. They came back to where I was at the car, and I asked them, I said, can I get a report so I can give it to my friend so he can go to his insurance or whatever he wants to do? While we're in the process of doing this or getting the paperwork, the defendant walks right by us, me and the two police officers, and I told the police officer, I said, that's the guy who fell at the car.
How did you know that?
I recognized his clothing, and it looked just like the guy. There was nothing...
You didn't see his face. You just saw him from the back.
I didn't see his face, but he fit exactly the mold of what I saw there. I didn't see anything that was particularly unique about him, but he happened to walk right by us, and he matched the best description that I had that I gave to the police officers.
Okay.
And in fact, they actually pointed him out to me. They said, is that the guy? And I said, yeah, that's him.
Go ahead.
So they pulled him over, and he attempted to talk to me to resolve the situation.
What did he say to you?
He said, if I remember correctly, can I pay you right now, or how can we get this resolved without getting the police involved?
He said to you?
Yes, he was trying to speak to me.
But he said, can I pay you? Is that what he said?
I think that's what he was trying to get.
Not trying to get. What did he say?
He didn't say pay me. He said, could we resolve this now? But it's not my car. I wasn't in a place to resolve it for PRO.
So you said no?
I actually told the police officer, I said, I'm not going to speak to him. I'll speak to you. I have nothing to say to him. It's not my car. It's not my place. If you can just get a report so I can give it to PRO and he can deal with it.
Fine. And this was the person who you had this brief conversation with subsequent to seeing someone who matched his description on the ground near a dent?
Yes.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Pictures of the car, and this is where it happened.
Mr. Fanini, you never had a conversation with the defendant, or did you?
I did have 2 conversations with the defendant.
Your first conversation was when?
It was about maybe 2-3 weeks after.
Did you call him?
Yes, I did.
And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
He basically said, this is an unfortunate situation, like, hopefully we can resolve this, and he offered to pay for half of it.
For half the dent?
The damages. Because I sent him an email. I have a string of emails sending him the damages and the field interview card. It's not a police report, but it's
Do you have any reply emails from him?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them, please?
This is the police thing, and that's the... I don't know if you want to.
Okay, sir. Now I'll hear you.
I was at the football game. I was tailgating in the same environment, obviously. At no point did I dent his car. I'd like to bring up how he recognized me being tall, just being on the ground, as one of the first inconsistencies in this whole story. Police officer grabbed my arm, said, I need your information. I had no idea what he was talking about. It kind of came as a shock. Michelle was there. She saw that happen.
Michelle just saw the police officer take your arm.
No, Michelle was with me the whole time.
That's not true. And even Michelle's not going to say that to me because she doesn't want to wind up in my mouth.
I was with him the whole time.
No, you weren't. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a salesman.
What do you sell?
Promotional merchandise for conferences.
Are you a good salesman?
Sometimes.
So you're a businessman?
Yes.
Do you have people who work for you, or do you work for somebody else?
I'm self-employed.
Do you have employees?
No.
So you do this all yourself?
Yes, it's challenging.
Let's say you get an order from a big company, and they're going to buy 1,000 cups. You call the people who make the cups and say, I want 1,000 cups, and I want this logo on it.
Correct.
Judge Judy.
I can do that.
And then all of a sudden, the people who make these cups call me and say, you know what? We can make it for you for half the cost. What do we need Chris for? We don't need Christopher for anything. What is he doing? He's going to deliver them to you. That's ridiculous. Would you be angry? Of course you would be, because you want what you're entitled to. You wouldn't want to take credit for something that you didn't do. You made the sale. Somebody's trying to knock you out of a sale. So you're a businessman. I've just read a series of emails, Christopher. And in those series of emails, you clearly say to Mr. Fanini that you are prepared to accept the responsibility for this. No, listen to me very carefully, sir.
I just agreed to at least meet and see what this is all about.
No, that's not true, sir. That's not true. That's a big fib, Chris. Sometimes you have to have a good memory, because if you never lie and if you always tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. The last thing that you say to him in your email was, I'll take the estimates and pictures to my family auto repair guy and see what he quotes us.
Yeah.
I'd see what he quotes us. Now, you're doing this because all of a sudden you became enamored with Mr. Fanini?
The whole reason I'm doing this is because his friend had the police threaten me And I don't know what this whole police report is all about, and I'm obviously fearing some sort of police involvement with something I have nothing to do. So I'm just trying to be a respectable person and talk with him about it. That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, please. Oh, please. Remember when I talked to you about the cup? You want the right people to get paid. You want the right people to get the credit. You want the wrong people to be let go. And Chris, 6 foot, I don't know, 4, 5, whatever it is, looked like a nice guy, got a nice girlfriend. You don't take the responsibility for something that you weren't involved with in writing.
I'm not taking responsibility.
You are. You did. This, sir, in legal, I'm speaking. Don't
Sorry.
speak when I speak.
Sorry.
She may permit that. I don't. Somebody who accepts responsibility by saying, let me take it and see if I can get it done cheaper, and if not, I'm trying to, please understand that I have a lot on my plate now, and I'm trying to resolve this as soon as I can.
But I'm not accepting responsibility.
Well, sir, in legal terms, it's a good thing you're not a lawyer, because in legal terms, that is as close to an admission of guilt as you can possibly get. As close to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
If she said to you, look, pull the hoodie over your head, I want you to go in, hold up the store, would you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
It's against the law.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Piero Fanini claims his vehicle was dented by Chris Baraby's head. Piero claims a drunken Chris fell into the vehicle.
At any time, Christopher, after you left, did you call the police and said, listen, I gave this man my identification because I was told to give him my identification, but I want it indicated in your report that I never did anything to his car.
I tried to talk to the officer.
Instead, you had a series of emails back and forth, no less than 4, all of which acknowledged financial responsibility for this.
Can I speak about the inconsistencies in their testimony?
I'm not relying on their testimony, sir. He never made an identification of you by your face. He made an identification of you generally by your clothing description. If that was all that there was, the case would have been dismissed. Period. End of discussion.
I was dressed the same as all other 100,000 people.
Listen to me. Christopher, I want you to listen to me. Put on your listening ears, sir.
Okay.
If all that there was to this case was Jordan's testimony about his identification of you, the case would have been dismissed. I would not have been satisfied that you were properly identified as the person who fell into his car and dented it.
I wasn't.
No question. Your emails were all the confession that I needed. Your acknowledgement of fiscal responsibility and being prepared to accept financial responsibility was all that I needed to say somebody who is an intelligent, articulate person, at least he would put it in his email. Listen, I didn't do this damage to your car, but I want to resolve this.
That was what
listen to me. I didn't do this damage to your car. However, in order to resolve this issue, so that we don't have to go any further with it, I accept responsibility to pay half of the damage. Do you want me to show you your emails and you're going to point out to me where you say that anywhere? No, you didn't.
Read that in there, but that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, I talked with them over the phone and admitted that I didn't do it. I talked to them about it.
Show me in the email where you say that, sir.
There was communication other than the emails.
Well,
Several.
then it serves a very important lesson to everybody. Don't put it in writing. Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $915. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I would imagine a football hit it, you know, anything.
I mean, he could easily been drunk and not have remembered hitting his head.
That was my first USC football game, and, you know, I'll go back again. I'll just, I don't know, have better luck, I guess.
I think she made the good decision, and, you know, I'm glad it's over with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pritzkow versus Sheindlin. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Sarah Pritzkow is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Bradley Chamberlain, for bail money and the return of her class ring.
Mr. Chamberlain, how old are you, sir?
23.
How tall are you?
6'2".
How much do you weigh?
220.
Do you work, go to school? What do you do?
Work.
What do you do?
I sell cinder block.
Hmm?
Sell cinder block.
Good salesman?
Try to be.
Who's this lady?
It's my mother.
Do you live at home or you live outside the home?
I rent the downstairs from her.
Pays you rent?
He does.
Pretty responsible?
Yes,
Trust his judgment?
absolutely.
Miss Pritzkow, this is what this case is about. You needed a ride to school, and you and Mr. Chamberlain, who were friends,
We were boyfriend, girlfriend.
at that time.
Yes.
He was going to give you a ride to school, and on the way to school, he was driving much too fast.
Yes, sir.
How fast were you driving, Mr. Chamberlain?
When the police officer pulled me over, I was doing 109.
And you were taken into custody?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you were going really fast.
Yes.
And she bailed you out.
Correct.
She wants her money.
Yes, ma'am.
And she says that you also have some class key or something that belongs to her.
A class key and a class ring.
And you said you gave her half the bail, and the other half should be her responsibility.
That's what she agreed to pay with my mother.
Why would she pay any part of your bail?
Because I was doing her a favor in driving her down to school.
You see where we were going, Mr. Chamberlain, with those preliminary questions, sir? 6'2", 220 pounds, a responsible salesman. Nobody put your pedal to the metal, sir, except you. 109? That was your business.
Well, she was wanting me to rush down there so she would be on time to school.
If she said to you, look, this is what I want you to do. I'm sort of short on cash. So I want you to pull into that convenience store and pull the hoodie over your head, put a bandana over here, and I want you to go in, hold up the store because I need some money. Would you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
It's against the law.
There you go. You got my drift, sir.
Yeah, I understand.
So if you got stopped for a crime and were arrested for a crime and were guilty of a crime, it's not because she importuned you to get her to school faster.
Correct.
Good. Now, Mr. Chamberlain says he gave you back some money. Did he?
No, I haven't seen a penny.
You say that you actually took money and put it in Miss Pritzkow's hand. Is that right?
Yes, on about
When?
October 8th, she came up for the weekend, calling, asking if she could have her money as well as the stuff back. So we agreed to meet her at a dealership, which is where I had worked at the time. And me and my brother went over there. I called my mom, asked her if she could loan me the half the money to give to her. My mom brought $250 as well as all the items which I had in a bag down in my bedroom. She had brought those as well as $250 to the dealership where we gave it to her.
Who actually put
I handed it to her.
$250 in her hand?
I handed it to her.
Okay. And you say that didn't happen?
No, I wasn't even up on October 8th.
Were you there at any part of the month of October?
Twice. Once.
Okay, so who cares what date it is? He says he gave you $250 plus some things that belonged to you. What things did you have in the bag?
I actually gave her $250 for my mom and $50 from my own pocket.
What things did you have in a bag that you gave her?
I believe it was a teddy bear, a blanket, and her jewelry, which was the class ring.
The jewelry was just the class ring?
There was a couple things in it. I think the key was in there as well.
And you returned it to her?
Yes.
In the parking lot?
No, it was on the front steps of the dealership.
And your brother was with you?
Yes, my brother and my mother were both there.
Is that right? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. What time of the day was this?
It was about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, just before the dealership closed.
Where did you get the jewelry from?
It was in a bag in his bedroom downstairs. And he called, asked if I'd go downstairs and get it, and bring that, and bring $250 out of the safe.
Not happening. If I had my class ring, I'd be wearing it right now.
When did you break up?
In the early beginnings of October.
Early in October. So if he was going to give you this money and return your property, October 8th or thereabouts would have been just about the right time. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else you want to tell me, Ms. Pritzkow?
Yeah, I have documentations of the bail I paid, written amount for everything.
Let's say the bail is $600. I believe that he paid you $300, and I believe that he returned any jewelry. I believe him. That's my job.
But I wasn't even there, Your Honor.
Well, you can establish to me that you weren't there at any time at the beginning of October.
I wasn't. I was there after the 17th for my birthday and to get my car.
So maybe it was the 17th. Listen, Ms. Pritzkow, that's my job. My job is to make a judgment as to who's telling the truth and who's lying. And I believe that he returned the jewelry to you in a bag along with a bear and a blanket, and that he paid you $300 of the bail. But he's going to pay you the other $300 because it's not your fault that he was stopped for speeding. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all. Step out.
Ladies are excused. You may step out.
Jay Sewell is suing her ex-husband, Scott Sewell, for a loan for attorney fees. Jay claims Scott has anger management problems.
All rise. Now, this is case number 10 on the calendar in the matter of Sewell versus Sewell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Sewell, the defendant is your former husband.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been divorced for how many years?
2 years, ma'am.
How long were you married?
8 years.
Do you have children?
No, ma'am.
Who was the plaintiff in the divorce?
I was.
What were the grounds for divorce?
Scott and I were married for 8 years, but 6 years into the marriage, he drinks and he beat me badly, and I've got metal in my face where I had a face rebuild. And he begged me after I came out of the hospital and he came out of jail to have him back, and he would not drink and he would go to anger management, which he did.
Don't speak. After your divorce?
Yes, ma'am.
Your claim is that you bailed him out of jail twice.
Yes, first time in April.
You bailed him out of jail after the divorce.
Yes, ma'am.
And the charge at that time was what?
Battery on his girlfriend.
And he paid you back?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
And then he called you again when?
September.
Because he had been
arrested for 2 counts of battery.
Battery this time, but not against his girlfriend, against, according to you, somebody else.
Yes, his brother and his niece.
And again, you bailed him out. But this time, you also hired an attorney for him, and you claim that he did not pay you back either for the bail or the attorney.
No, ma'am.
And that he had promised to pay you back. Now, Mr. Sewell says, yes, he acknowledges that he said he would pay you back for the bail, which was how much?
$500 and a $5,000 life insurance.
$500 bail?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also claim the attorney's fees that he promised to pay you back for, and that was in what amount?
It was $5,000.
Did you pay $5,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Sewell says that the attorney was your idea, not his. You hired the... That's his defense. You hired the attorney. And in addition, he says that's an awful lot of money because when he got out of jail, after you had bailed him out for the second time, he met with the attorney once. The attorney didn't show up on the adjourned date. The charges were dismissed probably because his brother and girlfriend didn't show up. He convinced them not to. Is that right?
No, they didn't show up because they had no case against me.
Oh, you are a poor victim, Mr. Sewell.
I was.
You were a victim the first time you put her in the hospital?
Nope.
Put her in the hospital.
Well, she attacked me first. And
when were you in the hospital?
None. Never.
In 2005, is that when the assault took place, or 2004?
On me?
Yes.
2002.
2002. You were not hospitalized in 2002 because of her assault on you?
No.
What was the nature of your assault on her, Mr. Sewell?
I came home late. I'd been drinking. As soon as I opened the door, she went off on me. And
what did you do to her, sir?
I just snapped and started swinging.
You snapped because you were drunk?
Yes.
That would be an assault, sir. Now, then you were arrested for assaulting your girlfriend.
Yes.
Did you plead no contest to that?
No, I pled guilty. That was all my fault. Same thing, drinking and fighting.
And when you went to the party at your brother's house, were you drinking?
Yes, but so was he.
I don't care if he was. He doesn't have the same kind of problem you do.
Well, he's the one that hit me. I didn't hit nobody that day.
You were in serious trouble at the time of that third arrest, sir. That would have been probably at least your second felony, but third arrest that I know about. There are probably more that I don't even want to go into. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Sewell?
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning what?
Service. Air conditioning homes.
You work for somebody else or yourself?
Both.
How long have you maintained the same job with an employer?
8 years was the longest.
How long ago?
Oh, that was in the 80s.
What about now?
I sub out and I work for myself. I make more money that way.
So you don't have an employer now, you work for yourself?
Right now I am.
For how many years?
The last 15.
The last 15 years you've been working for yourself?
Off and on, yes.
When was the last time you filed tax returns?
Every year I do.
Did you file them this past year?
Yes.
How much did you earn?
Right around 30 grand or so.
You have any children, Mr. Sewell?
All grown, yes.
How old are they?
I got 6. I don't even know all their ages. 27 and down.
When was the last time you saw any of your children?
A year ago.
Do you think your life is a success, Mr. Sewell?
No, I don't.
It is not. It is a monumental failure. And you know, I suspect it's a monumental failure because you drink.
That's always been the trouble.
Well, why don't you do something about it, sir? How old are you?
47.
47. Well, statistically speaking, unless you get hit by a bus or a car or something else happens to you of a fortuitous nature, you have probably another 30 years to live, unless the cirrhosis of your liver does you in earlier. So don't you think you ought to do something about your drinking, Mr. Sewell?
I'm content with my life. I like working. I like having a beer after work. I'm probably never going to change.
What do you do for a living, madam?
I work for the publisher of a magazine.
Had you been married before?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
9 years.
You understand that he is a monumental loser?
Yes, ma'am.
And that bailing him out the first time after your divorce was a big mistake?
Yes, ma'am.
And bailing him out the second time was a bigger mistake?
Yes, but I just kept praying, like we do, that people will change.
No,
but
no. Let me
happen.
explain something to you. Men don't pray that women will change. Women pray that men will change. And I remember either saying or seeing or something, a little card that says, "Don't try to teach a pig to sing. It doesn't work and it annoys the pig." Women do it all the time with different gradations of change. Some would like them neater, some would like them more punctual, some would like them more affectionate. Remember the birthday. You just want him to stop beating you. Miss Sewell.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Were you a drinking partner?
Well, yes, kind of, but not as bad as him. That he's in drinking every day and he's not as bad as me.
Didn't you hear what I said, sir? I said, I don't want to hear your voice until I ask you a question.
And later today.
Why did you do that, Miss Johnson?
Bad decision.
Very bad decision.
Yes, it was.
You allowed your daughter to do something that was against the law.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jay Sewell says ex-husband Scott Sewell owes for bail and attorney fees after he was arrested for beating up his girlfriend. Jay claims it was Scott's fourth arrest for domestic violence.
Let me see the lawyer's bill, please. And your canceled check to the lawyer.
I've got the credit card statements where it's been actually added to my credit cards. I didn't have any cash.
Did you pay her back the $500 bail from September, sir?
No.
Why?
We went to mediation. She wouldn't accept it. I tried to. They tried to. She wouldn't accept it.
You mean she wouldn't accept the $500 that you wanted to pay her for the bail? You mean she wouldn't accept it because she wanted the attorney's fees as well?
She wanted everything, yes.
Well, that sounds right. They were the attorney's fees for you, right?
I didn't ask for it. I never asked for it.
What did he say, Miss Sewell?
What did he say when he went to jail? He said, do anything it takes to get me out of here. Anything it takes. Get me out. I'll never see daylight. And then in the morning, he'd asked us to go and pick up his truck because his firm would want the truck collected because he was in jail and couldn't go to work. So Gary and I went round to collect the truck.
Who's Gary?
This is what used to be Scott's best friend.
Go ahead.
And we were at the house after we came back and he called from the jail. And I was holding the phone up because he wanted to speak to both of us because I told him Gary was there. And he'd said on the phone, she needs to get me an attorney before 10 o'clock. I'm in court at 10 o'clock. And he said...
Step up. Your last name, sir?
That's a lie.
Baumgartner.
Mr. Baumgartner, you heard that statement? She needs to get me an attorney?
That's a lie. I was in jail. How
Don't
can
listen to me. I don't want to hear you say anything until I look in your direction and ask you a question. How long had you been his best friend, sir?
Oh, approximately 10 months.
How did you know him? Were you a drinking partner?
Well, yes, kind of, but not as bad as him.
But a drinking buddy?
Yes, I have a friend owns a little neighborhood pub.
That he's in drinking every day and he's not as bad as me. I'm out working every day. What do you mean he's not as bad as me?
Didn't you hear what I said, sir? I said, I don't want to hear your voice until I ask you a question. For my own information, this attorney met with, I assume, the two of you.
Met with me first because he was in jail and I had to go and retain him.
Okay, how did you find him?
In the Yellow Pages.
So you went to see him?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much time did he spend with you?
About 45 minutes.
And then the second time he saw you, you were with him?
Yes, when he was released from the court, we had to go to his office.
And how long were you with him then?
About 10 minutes.
Did you ever see him again?
No.
Did you ever see him again?
No, I didn't.
And what you're telling me is for that less than an hour, you paid him $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
This is what I'm going to suggest that you do. You have to pay her the $5,000 because it was taken out of her credit card. I am holding that check until the two of you compose a letter to the Bar Association in the state of Florida, filing a formal complaint against this attorney for taking $5,000 for less than 1 hour's worth of work when he did not make a court appearance. Have you asked him for any of that money back?
He did make the final court appearance with him.
How many court appearances did he make with you?
The last day when I was going to be completely done with the judge, I was going back every month checking in with the judge because I was going to anger management.
Well, had you been in touch with the attorney? Listen to me. Had you been in touch with the attorney in between? You mean he just showed up on that last date?
Yes. But he wasn't needed for anything. It had nothing to do with the case I was arrested for. It had nothing to do with that.
Well, what was he there for?
I had no idea. I didn't need him for nothing. This was about a case against my girlfriend that this was the final day to meet the judge and be done with it. And the money that she paid the attorney for that, he gave back to her. He gave her $2,500 back.
How much money did you pay the attorney in total?
$7,500 because of his previous record. He said that he wouldn't take the case on less than that. And he took on the case that had already been pled, and then...
So he took on both. All right, I feel better now. I feel better now. Now I'm getting it. Okay, because it would have been outrageous and unconscionable for him to charge you $5,000 for less than 1 hour's work. However, I have a feeling that there's more work involved here than I was originally presented with. You have to pay her back the money, sir. Do you understand?
I didn't ask for it. Yes, I understand, though.
Yes, I believe that you did. I believe that you probably had a very bad hangover. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse, you may step out.
Well, she forgot to mention that she gets drunk every night, and she likes to fight. She loves to fight.
After he'd beaten me and put me in hospital and...
Drinking does lead to fighting.
I became afraid of him and divorced him.
A couple people get drunk, they bump heads.
Justice was done.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Scott. Step forward.
Stacy Johnson is suing the mother of her daughter's boyfriend, Stacy Scott, for the cost to fix her 2005 Chevy Cobalt. The plaintiff claims Stacy's son drove the car without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Johnson, this is your daughter, and Miss Scott, this is your son. According to what I've read, your daughter was dating the defendant's son. You let her use the family car?
Yes.
Because they were going out. They went out after they were finished with their date or whatever they were doing that evening. Your daughter let the defendant's son drive your car. He had an accident and the car was damaged. You want Miss Scott to pay for it.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. How old are you?
16.
How old are you?
16.
Who's older? Raise your hand. What kind of a driver's license do you have? Or did you have at the time of this accident?
What do you mean?
Did you have a permit? Did you have a full license? What kind of driver's license did you have?
I had my license, but my 3 months weren't all the way up yet.
What does that mean, Tristan?
That I wasn't supposed to have anyone else in the car.
Unless it's an adult.
Right.
If you had an adult in the car, you could drive. Yes?
Yes.
And when was your probationary period up?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember the day exactly.
Well, let's try to remember. When did you get your license?
Do you know when it was?
November.
November, I think.
When did this accident happen?
In November.
No, I think you got your... I think she got her birthday's in June, and you had to wait 30 days, and I believe she got her license probably 45 days after her birthday. And then there was a 3-month period she could drive with an adult or by herself, but she couldn't have anybody in the car under 21.
Okay. And this accident happened during that period of time,
yes,
when she was on probationary period.
Right.
And you let her take the car during this probationary period.
Yes.
And you let her take the car, according to you, knowing that she was picking up the boyfriend.
Yes.
And they were going to the mall, bowling or something?
Yes.
Why did you do that, Miss Johnson?
Bad decision.
Put your hand down. Very bad decision.
Yes, it was.
You allowed your daughter to do something that was against the law.
Yes.
Now, where did you go that evening?
Went to the mall, and we went to Dairy Queen, and we was on our way to the bowling alley.
Could you speak up, please?
To the mall, then we went to Dairy Queen, then we was on our way to the bowling alley.
What were you doing driving the car? Because you have no license.
And we left the mall, and she wasn't feeling well, so she...
What was wrong with her?
I guess she had a headache.
You have a headache that night?
Yes.
So did you say to her, I don't have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
And what happened?
When we got on...
Could you keep your voice up? Why do I have to strain to hear you?
We was walking, we was driving on 7th Street.
No, we weren't driving. You were driving.
Yeah, well, I was driving on 7th Street, and then there's some cars parked in the no parking zone, and I hit one of them.
You didn't hit it because it was parked in the no parking zone, right?
No, ma'am.
Wasn't the car's fault.
No.
It was your fault.
Yes.
Right. How much damage was done to the car?
$4,000. I have pictures.
I'll look at the pictures. Ooh, nasty. Now, Miss Scott, were you home when your son went out that evening?
Yes.
She picked him up in the car?
Yes. She had done that on numerous occasions before.
Did you give your son permission to drive the car?
Absolutely not.
At the time that she picked him up, did you know she was on probation?
No.
You did not know that?
No, I did not know till the night this happened.
The night that this happened, you got a call from the police that there had been an accident?
No, I got a call from my son immediately after it happened to get to the scene because they had had a bad accident.
Now, Miss John, what?
That's not quite true. She did not pick him up. They met at the mall, and they were having dinner at the mall and going to the bowling alley, and she was to drop him off.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
So you met at the mall?
Yes.
Who took you to the mall?
My grandfather.
Now, Miss Johnson, who do you think is responsible for paying for the damage to your car?
Brandon's parents.
Wrong. You are.
Why is that?
Because the only adult who had the information that your daughter was not permitted to drive with anyone else in the car, that teenagers have generally bad judgment, so the state says, we're not going to give them the ability to hurt somebody because they're still a little young, so they're going to have to demonstrate to us with a probationary period that they're responsible enough. The only one that had that information, the only adult, was you. Miss Scott didn't have that information.
I'm not sure I believe that.
I don't care what you believe. The only thing I know for certain is that you permitted your daughter, in violation of the law, to take a car knowing that she was going to take an underage person at some point in the car. You knew that. His mother didn't know that. Who is this?
Brandon's
Father, Ron.
You didn't know that,
No, I did.
but you knew that. And I'll tell you something else, Miss Johnson. What's your first name?
Brandon.
If Brandon was seriously injured in this car accident, you would be responsible for his injuries. Forget the car. The Scott family would own your home. Being a parent requires you to be a parent, not a friend. And if your daughter wanted to go to the mall and pick up her boyfriend and be with her boyfriend and then drop him off home, your responsibility as a parent is to take her there and pick her up and to drop the boyfriend home. And if she says, oh, come on, but you know, it's just a minute, you're supposed to be a parent and say, no, that's against the law. So you allowed her to break the law. So what's the big deal if she says, listen, he doesn't have a driver's license, so what's the big deal? My mother allowed me to break the law. I'll break the law by letting him drive. That's what she learned from you that day, and probably on other dates as well. So I have absolutely no sympathy with you. Pay for the car yourself. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jill Waters is suing her ex-husband, landscaper Richard Boris, for the cost to fix up their son's classic Ford Falcon.
Yeah, this is case number 438 on the calendar in the matter of Water versus Boris. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Water, the defendant is your former husband, and you have 2 children together.
We have 4.
I only knew of 2 boys. You have
2 boys and 2 girls.
In any event, one of your boys was in need of a car. So you called your ex-husband because you knew that he had a car that was not running, an old car, 40 years old, a classic car, and you made the following agreement with him, according to your complaint, that you would invest your money in getting the car up and running if he would give the car to your son. What's your son's name?
Luke.
And Mr. Boris said, okay, go get it. It's laying over in my father's property because it's not running. So far, correct?
I went down and prepped the car. We pulled it out and cleaned it up. My son.
But it wasn't running.
It wasn't running.
And you took the car, and over the course of the next several months, you put the car in running order and invested, according to you, almost $4,000 in the car. And at some point, there came a problem because you couldn't title the car and get the insurance on the car and turn it over to Luke because there was some problem with Mr. Boris.
Yes.
And you ended up buying your son another car.
Right.
And now you're suing him for the money you invested in his car.
Yes.
So I'm going to turn to you, Mr. Boris, and ask you some questions, sir.
Sure.
First, tell me what year car this was.
A 1964 Falcon.
And how long have you had it?
30 years?
And according to your answer, it had been your intention always to give the car to one of your sons.
Correct.
So it's clear that you and your former wife had this agreement that she was going to fix the car and you were going to give the car to Luke.
Right.
And she did fix the car and invest thousands of dollars in it.
No, she said she had it fixed, but it still didn't run right. After spending that amount of money, it didn't run right.
She spent thousands of dollars on the car.
Correct.
How many thousands of dollars do you have documented that you spent on the car?
$5,293.
So what happened, Mr. Boris?
When they picked the car up, I only saw it one time after they picked the car up, and I had asked on several occasions to be included in the repair of the car because that was our dream. That didn't happen. Her new live-in boyfriend did the repairs on the car with my son, which upset him greatly because that was our thing, always.
And Mr. Boris, if that was going to be your thing, then why didn't you say, listen, if you pay for the parts, we'll leave it at my father's house, and I'll work with Luke on it, you know, whenever I can. Why did you, according to you, put it in shape so that they could move it?
She made the offer of, if I give the car to Luke, that she would pay for the repairs.
Right. Well, that's what I said.
She didn't want to include me in that, though. She said she would, but once they got the car, I never saw it after that. They took it somewhere else to a friend of his who builds race cars, and she wouldn't tell me where it was. I had asked several occasions.
How did you ask?
I'd like to go see the car. I'd like to see where it is, the progress of the car.
And what did she say to you?
No, it's being worked on.
Oh, that's not a nice thing to do. Why did you do that?
Well, I don't recall ever saying that. The car was at the mechanic's house for a month while he was rebuilding the engine and doing major work to it, and then we brought it home, and it was parked in front of the house until the police came by and told me that the registration was not valid, even though I had plates and tags. So we had to move it off the street. So we did park it at a friend's house who has some property.
Well, what do you need to get the car in a state where it can be registered and have proper tags?
Just a signed statement from him stating that he has given the car to my son, but he refuses to do that.
I have a thing from the DMV. My son has the proper paperwork. The reason that the DMV kicked it back out was because she tried to add her name to it. Her name
How old is Luke?
16.
He can't register the car himself.
He can become the legal owner, though.
No, he can't. He can't. She needs an insurable interest in the car in order to get insurance on it. Anybody who wants to insure a car has to have an insurable interest in that car. Otherwise, you could take out insurance on my life, for instance, and then I wouldn't feel safe. Do you understand? So your 16-year-old son cannot own this property alone. He has to own it with a parent, with an adult, or with his guardian.
More than willing to be a co-owner with him.
Well, that wasn't your agreement.
And the agreement wasn't to make her the owner either.
No, she's not supposed to be the owner. But if she...
There on the paperwork, it's trying to show that she's trying to put her name on the title.
With Luke?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what's wrong with that? She's just paid $5,000 to fix it.
Because my son told me once she takes ownership, because she bought him a new car. She went and spent thousands of dollars more for a new car rather than to continue to invest in fixing that car. And my son has told me that once she becomes the owner, she's going to sell it. And that was never the intent.
Miss Water, is it your testimony today that if you are successful, that it is your intention to give this car to your son, or is it your intention to sell it?
My intent was to get the car running for my son. I tried to do something nice because I knew he wanted to give the car to one of his sons. So I said, you give him the car, I will pay to have it up and running. He failed to follow through on his part.
No, madam.
He refused to sign a bill of sale.
He did not want to sign a bill of sale to you and Luke. He says, I don't have a problem with signing a bill of sale over to myself and Luke, but not
after
to...
I invested the money.
What?
It could be in my son's name, but as you state, it cannot only be in his name.
Correct. And he said, I'm not making my former wife a gift. I'm making a gift to my son. So he has no objection to giving you a bill of sale so that you can act as emissary to have the car registered and insured. Correct?
Yes.
That's not unreasonable. That was your agreement. Your agreement wasn't that he was going to reimburse you.
I have a younger son whom also I had planned on once he reaches the age to pass that car on to him.
Listen, You can only pass the car to one child. You made an agreement with your former wife. Your agreement was that she would fix the car. She would pay to fix the car, and the car would be Luke's.
Right. And
It is only by virtue of the fact that the law proscribes a 16-year-old from owning a vehicle because he can't insure the vehicle that I come up with this solution for you, sir. And she is the guardian and custodian of your 16-year-old son, so you cannot sell this car without her permission. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes, I would
Good.
turn the car after Luke is 18.
No.
It's a family heirloom. It's something I want to keep in the family.
Mr. Boris, listen to me very carefully, sir. You made an agreement with your former wife.
And Luke.
And Luke. And you will, and I will issue an order, that you will do a bill of sale to your son and you as co-owners of this car. And you will deliver that bill of sale to your former wife, giving her the ability, because that was your agreement, to register the car and insure it. If Luke chooses to drive it, that's fine. If he wishes to insure it, that's fine. If she wishes to keep that car on her property for the next 2 years until Luke is ready to take it himself, and I assume, sir, that you want to maintain good relations with your son when he's 18, I assume you're going to sign the car over to him.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Perfect. That's the solution. So within 5 days from today, you will deliver that statement to your wife along with the agreement that when Luke turns 18, he will become the sole owner of the car. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable.
Understand? Good. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very frustrated. I put a lot of money into that car, and I wasn't able to get it registered so my son could use it, and he needed another car, so I have spent more money than I needed to.
She let her new live-in boyfriend do the work on the car with my son.
They're just allegations. I gave him plenty of opportunity. The only thing is he wanted me to fund his time with his son.
That had been something that my son and I had always planned on doing together, not some guy that she has living in the house.
He makes everything difficult.
It's been this way for years.
I just hope we can put it behind us.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Eden versus Neely. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Desiree Eden is suing her father's girlfriend, EMT tech Susan Neely, for the return of payments on a Dodge Neon she repossessed. Susan is countersuing for the vehicle's unpaid balance and insurance payments.
Who are you?
I'm the dad.
Why don't you stand up, sir? Miss Eden, while this gentleman, who's your father, is not a defendant, I'm going to have him stand here because I think it's important. Miss Neely is your father's girlfriend. They live together. Is that right?
Yes.
According to what I read, a couple of years ago, you needed a car. You were living with your father and his girlfriend. And Miss Neely agreed to buy a car. You were underage, so it was in her name. And tell me what the agreement was.
The agreement was that I paid the car payments on the car as it came. I paid the $1,000 down plus the car payments on it.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
From when to when?
From November 2003 to December or November 26th of 2004.
And you made the payments every month?
Yes.
Who paid the insurance?
I paid it when she asked for it.
The agreement was that you would make the monthly payments.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neely, is it correct that Miss Eden made the monthly payments on the car from November of 2003 to November of 2004?
Her last payment was on November the 12th of
So the answer would be
2004.
yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happened in November of 2004?
Okay, the day after Thanksgiving, she decided that she was going to move out and move in with her boyfriend. And I told her she could not take the car because that car was in my name. It was titled in my name. And I would not let her have it because if something should happen and they go out and have a wreck and kill somebody, it comes back on me. So I told her she had to leave the car with me, and if she came with the balance owed against the car, then I would sign it over to her.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second.
She did not come up with the $2,201.93 that was owed against the car, so I would not allow her to have it.
Well, wasn't your agreement. Ms. Neely, that wasn't your agreement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's really dumb to hitch your wagon to a star when you're 18 years old, especially when the star isn't such a star.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Desiree Eden says her father's girlfriend, Susan Neely, illegally repossessed her car. Susan says she took the car away when Desiree moved in with her boyfriend.
When did you turn 18?
May 23rd.
Of 2004?
Of 2004.
Once she turned 18 and continued to make the payments, and you continued to accept the payments, that contract that you had with her, that verbal contract, was ratified, which meant it became a contract. The contract's terms were very simple. You make the payments until the car is paid off, I'll sign the title over to you. That was your contract.
But she's no longer making payments.
She stopped making payments because you wouldn't let her take the car.
Correct.
What we're talking about is an anticipatory breach, which is you said to yourself, I'm not so sure whether she's going to continue to make the payments on the car if she's not here and living with the boyfriend, so I'm not going to let her have the car. That's what you really said.
Well, our insurance company told us that
Hey, don't tell me what your insurance company told you. The insurance company cannot interpret a contract that you had with her.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Also, when it was told to her when we decided to get the car for her, it was also told that she would stay in school, and it depended on her grades. That way we could also use the car. If she started slipping a little bit, we could take the car away from her.
She hadn't slipped? Sir, she just decided to move out and move in with her boyfriend.
Exactly. But after that is when she lost her job. She quit school.
I did not.
But just a second, just a second. Mr. Eden, at the time she left, she was making the payments.
Yes.
She was in school.
Yep.
And she had a job.
Yes.
You can't anticipate what's going to happen afterwards. Where's the car now?
It is at my house.
They have it for sale for $2,500.
Car is hers.
Okay, who pays the rest of the...
She does.
Okay. Does she pay that to us or to the car dealership, or...
Are you working?
No, ma'am.
Well, how are you going to make the payments on the car?
Well, I just moved back into my mom's here recently. I have to get another job.
Where's the boyfriend?
Right here.
How come you moved out of his house?
We both moved into my mom's house. We were having too much problems in Monette where we were living with him. He had assaulted me shortly after I moved out.
Who did?
My father. I had to get a restraining order against him on December 8th. He assaulted me on December 7th.
About what?
About he was mad that I moved out and I was living with him.
Does he work?
Yes, he does.
What does he do?
He is
Don't
in
look down.
factory.
What?
Factory.
And what about you?
I'm in school, high school.
How do you do in high school?
I do really good. I have good grades.
You do really well.
I do really well. I try.
I have a report card from when she left.
We don't need you to do any negatives.
Okay, I just sort of...
Listen to me. Is he in school?
No, he's not.
How old is he?
22.
Do you have the ability to do better in school?
Yes, ma'am.
It's really dumb to hitch your wagon to a star when you're 18 years old, especially when the star isn't such a star. Unless you get an education, it's going to be a struggle your whole life. You want to struggle your whole life?
No, Your Honor.
You know what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You look like you have the potential to do okay. Unless you recognize your potential, you're going to be clawing at life your whole life. I think that taking back this car is probably going to be a terrible burden for you, financially, because you don't have the money for it now, right?
Right.
So you put in $4,000 into the car in the year that you had it, in payments that you made.
Correct.
Let's say you had to rent a car, a basic car, for the year. That would have cost you about $2,000 or $166 a month, basic. So you have the following choice. Either you assume full financial responsibility for this car, or I'm prepared to award you half of what you're requesting, which is $2,000, which might give you an opportunity of going and finding a good second-hand car that wouldn't give you any further payments. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Ms. Neely and your father can go and sell this car. If they make a profit, fine. If they don't, fine. You think that's a smarter idea for you?
Yes, I do, because I don't know
I do
what they've
too.
done. I'm not sure what they've done to the car since I haven't had it.
Well, I don't think they've purposely done anything. They're trying to sell it. All right. You can't anticipate a breach of a contract. You had an agreement with this young lady, and she fulfilled her end of the agreement. She used the car for a year, over a year. She understands that that's wear and tear on the car. I'm awarding her $2,000. Be smart. Buy wheels so that you can get yourself to and from school and to and from a part-time job. Do well in school. Think a little higher than what you know. You know, think a little higher, think. Can I reach my potential, and what is that? Okay. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have any children, do you?
Oh, no.
Right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And you don't plan on any for a while, right?
No, ma'am.
Very smart. Make sure. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Maker Shelley Krantz is suing her ex-husband, 26-year-old construction worker Thomas Lupersbeck, for 2 separate loans to pay court fines and restitution. Thomas says Shelley has already been paid back.
Yes, this is case number 454 on the calendar in the matter of Krantz versus Lupersbeck. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Krantz, this is your former husband, and according to your complaint, subsequent to your divorce, you made 2 loans to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Both were for court fines or tickets or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
And neither of those loans have been repaid.
No, ma'am.
The defendant says that you did, in fact, advance him the money in form of a loan, and he paid you back. And he says that the second chunk of money that you gave him to pay tickets or something so that he could get his license back was just a gift, and he is also prepared to establish that. So, when were you married and when were you divorced, Ms. Krantz?
We were married on October the 10th of 2003.
And when were you divorced?
The divorce papers are stated April the 27th of 2004.
And when was the first loan?
June the 21st of 2004. And I do have where he signed a note that he would pay me back the money.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. Also attached with that is the way that I proceeded to get the money. He was in jail at the time for not paying fines and restitutions.
Just a second. One second. Shh. Okay, were you in jail in June of 2004?
Most definitely.
When did you get out of jail?
Like the beginning of July. She came and posted a bond for me. It was a $2,200 cash bond.
And you signed this that you owe her $23.33.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to that, you say you paid her back.
Yes, ma'am.
How come you called your former wife for the money? You were divorced?
We were planning on trying to work things out. We've been talking on the phone while I was in jail. I would have been there probably 4 years if I had not made that bond. She was pretty much the only person I knew that would help me.
Okay. So you were pretty desperate.
It was probably more than desperate. I mean, I wanted to be with her and wanted to, be a family again. But I mean, yeah, she was the only place.
What were you in jail for, sir?
I had stolen some things, and I had violated my probation for that by not paying my fines and court costs and all that.
Now, show me, Mr. Lupersbeck, that you paid her back.
What I have is my check stubs that my bosses wrote me for that period of time, and I have my supervisor at the job that was there on 2 occasions. She came and personally got my check. I signed it and she got it. And then when I went back to jail, she picked up my last paycheck, and he can testify that he was there and saw that.
Your Honor, I will state that when we were together, he would contribute to bills, but certainly never repaying any of the money that I had loaned him.
Did you ever go and get money from his supervisor?
There was one occasion where I picked up a paycheck. After he had went to jail in August, I picked up an $84 paycheck from his job. He
Only one paycheck?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the only time you went?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Nebo Shakovacevic.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
Were you his supervisor?
Yes, at that time.
Tell me what you know about these paychecks.
I know at 2 occasions that she came on Fridays and he signed the checks, the paychecks, and gave it to her. And the last, when he went to jail, the last paycheck, my brother gave it out to her because he called from jail and told me to give her the last check.
Now, what about the 2 other times that you say you saw him?
Yes, I saw him sign the paycheck and hand it to her.
Where were you living at the time, sir?
When I got the loan, I got out of jail, moved directly in with Ms. Krantz.
How long did you live with her?
It was not very long. You know.
Tell me how long. When did you get out of jail? You got out of jail
it was
in
a month at the longest.
July?
Yes, ma'am, and in August I was back in jail, so it was about 3 weeks.
I made the loan for him on June the 21st. I paid his fines and restitutions to get him out of jail. He could not get out of jail until they were paid.
He was
the very
not,
next
just
day,
a second, he was not living with you at the time?
No, ma'am, he was in jail.
Okay, so then he got out of jail.
And he was arrested for domestic assault the very next day.
On who?
On me.
How long did he live with you after that?
From the time that I made the loan to him to the time that he moved out of my home completely was, I say, about a month, maybe.
And how much money do you claim you gave her, sir, in your paychecks?
Ma'am, since I've known her...
No, I don't care since you know her. I'm talking about for that 1 month.
Every dime it says I made. Since I've known her, I've signed every paycheck I've ever made, and she has deposited in her account.
Listen to me. You're not following what I'm saying to you.
$2,308. And after I was arrested for domestic assault, my boss came and bonded me out, and I went and stayed with him.
Did he sign his checks over to you, and did they go into a joint account?
No, ma'am. I had my own personal private account. Thomas never was on my account. He was not able to be on my account.
No, that's not what I asked.
Okay. No, ma'am, he did not. No.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a stay-at-home mother. I have a special education child, and I stay at home.
Well, who supports your family?
I get a Social Security check for my son's disability, and I also get alimony from my first 13-year marriage.
Okay. Let me hear about the next loan that you allegedly made to him.
Mr. Luperspeck got out of jail December the 13th of 2004.
Was that for domestic violence?
It was for a probation violation because of the domestic violence.
Against her?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Mr. Luperspeck got out of jail on December the 13th, in which he called me, stated that he had nowhere to stay, nowhere to go. He wanted to come back home. I allowed that to happen. I know that he owed me money from before. I figured if I didn't let him come back home and help him...
Don't even say that. You said that in your complaint.
Well, it was...
I don't believe it. When he came back home, did he sleep with you in your bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, it was...
Shut! That's not to give him a place to stay. Giving him a place to stay is that he has a pillow and you go sleep on the couch. Letting him come home and share your bed is a totally different thing, Miss Krantz. You know it and I know it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I was just in love, and I was
Well,
foolish.
then you have to say that, you know. I mean, that's clear. You were in love with him?
And I was foolish.
Well, then why are you bothering me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My daughter was not with me. She had chose to live with her father.
Is she back now?
No, we are just now establishing our relationship together.
It's what happens when you fall in love with a bum.
And later today,
I was trying to get out of the vacation because I didn't want to be around any negative influences where I know that things are going on.
So why did you go?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shelley Krantz says her ex-husband, Thomas Lupersbeck, owes for 2 loans to pay court fines and restitution. Shelley also says Thomas is an abuser.
Okay, you were foolish, you were in love, you gave him money.
I did.
Then you had a fight, and he probably knocked you around, and you had him incarcerated, and then he was violated again, and then as soon as he got out of jail, you let him come back again in December to your home where you have children, where children are supposed to be peaceful and live in a peaceful, quiet environment.
At that time, my daughter was not with me. She had chose to live with her father because of the things that had happened between Mr. Lupersbeck and I.
Is she back now?
No, we are just now establishing our relationship together.
Well, that's what happens. It's what happens when you fall in love with a bum. Fall in love with a bum, you can lose your whole family.
I realize that.
That would be you.
No, it wouldn't.
You may have a seat, sir. Yeah, sure. That would be you.
Ma'am, I've worked every day since I've met this lady, and I was sleeping in my car before we were married and giving her my paycheck. I don't consider that being a bum so that her and her family can eat.
Just a second, sir. How did she get involved with the arrest that brought you 2 probation violations? Who'd you steal from her?
No, sir. Ma'am, it was an employer that was refusing to pay me.
You mean an employer that was refusing to pay you? A judge wouldn't listen to you when you were trying to get your money from that employer? Look at you, Mr. Lubitschek. You can't even keep a straight face.
I didn't even try to go through a court. I just took what I felt he owed me.
Did that ever happen before, Mr. Lubitschek?
No, ma'am.
Never were arrested before?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't have anything to do with that, did she?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So how many times in total, I want you to think? How old are you?
26.
26. So you haven't had that long a life. How many times have you been arrested? Let's say more than 5?
15.
15. So you've been arrested 15 times. And how many times was she involved?
Twice.
Twice out of 50. So 13 times she was not. That makes you a bum.
Sure.
Just because you try to pay your own way and pay a little rent money doesn't make you not a bum. Somebody who's 26 years old has been arrested 15 times is a bum. That's what my grandmother would say.
She's entitled to her opinion.
It's my opinion's the only one who counts here.
Your Honor,
Listen to me, Ms. Krantz. Give me the second loan. He came out of jail in December of 2004. You took him back home. I assume it was at that point your daughter went to your ex-husband or before?
No, ma'am, that was in June.
In June of 2004?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so she had enough of him 6 months before.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let's fast forward to December 2004. Go ahead.
He came home. He was placed on intensive state probation. Part of his probation was that he was to get his license back and retain a job. So he asked if I would help him get his license reinstated. He promised me several times that if I paid this for him, that he would pay me back. He informed me that there were 2 tickets that he had to get paid.
All right, so you gave him how much, $800?
It was over $800.
All right, and then what happened after the 15?
Shortly thereafter, we began to argue. Thomas still had a problem finding a job.
And?
We began to argue because he wouldn't get a job and he wouldn't pay me back the money that he owed me. Is
that what you were arguing about?
We were arguing because that's what we do. I guess that was one of the topics of conversation, sure.
Your Honor.
And what did you say to her?
I went and sat in the living room on the chair, and when the argument continued, I left.
What was she saying to you?
After about the first 10 minutes, I don't even know. I wasn't listening.
Is it possible she was saying to you, you have to get a job because you have to pay me back the money you owe me?
She did say that, and that's something that we already knew, but it was wintertime. I frame houses for a living, and framing jobs aren't so easy to find in the wintertime.
Well, this makes my life much easier, because you see what you just said, Mr. Lubitschek? You said that's what we were arguing about, you know, about the money that I owed her. But, you know, it's not so easy in the wintertime to get a job framing, and that's what I do for a living. So you know what that is, Mr. Lubitschek?
What is it?
That is an acknowledgement that you owe her money.
Your Honor.
Shut!
Sorry.
That's what it is. You must have been before a lot of dumb judges in your time, sir.
Not that I know of.
Somebody who's been arrested and probably convicted more than half a dozen times, as far as I'm concerned, should probably be in jail forever. Listen to me carefully, sir. Did you give him a W-2 for his taxes?
Your Honor, it's a different form.
It's a different
1099.
Okay, so you gave him a 1099.
Yes, he's got that.
You have a short time to fill out your taxes, sir.
Correct, ma'am. April 15th.
Right. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,195, which is the amount requested. I don't believe, Mr. Lubitschek, that you paid back this loan. Your final statement to me indicates that the last argument that you had with the plaintiff was over this loan. You decided to tune her out on the 15th of December. I tune you out now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We can't communicate because both of us are hard-headed and doesn't want to listen to the other one.
I'm just very hurt that I gave the defendant so many chances and tried to help him so much, and he still denied the fact that he owed me the money.
I love her very much.
I care about him, but I think I'm going to make smarter decisions from now on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLeish versus Kramer. Step forward.
21-year-old department store manager Ashley McLeish is suing her former friend, retail salesperson Angela Kramer, for her share of a trip to Las Vegas. Angela claims Ashley and her witness coerced her into going.
How old are you, Miss McLeish?
21.
Miss Kramer?
21.
You used to be really good friends, and you claim that Miss Kramer owes you for her share of a trip that the two of you took to Las Vegas.
Correct.
And Miss Kramer says she had a lousy time, right?
Yeah.
And in addition to having a lousy time, she never agreed to pay you back.
That is incorrect.
Miss Kramer, what do you do for a living?
I'm a student in a retail sales.
Where do you work?
I work at Mervyn's.
You live by yourself?
No.
Who do you live with?
I live with my father.
In his house?
Yes.
Miss McLeish, what about you? You're a student?
Yeah, I go to Golden West College, and I'm a retail manager at Mervyn's, and I live with my parents.
Okay, good. Now, you went on vacation?
Yes.
For how long?
3 days.
You were going there for what reason?
Because it was our 21st birthday, so me, her, and my witness wanted to have a good time, and on our 21st birthday, Vegas is like the place to be.
Good. So, you asked her to go with you?
Yes.
She said?
Yes.
And?
So I looked online for prices for hotel and airfare because we wanted to fly there. And after...
Did Miss Kramer say that you should put these charges on your credit card?
I agreed to put it on my credit card, and the agreement was that she would pay me back before we left on August 1st.
Your Honor, that's not...
Just a second. She didn't pay you back?
No, she hadn't paid me back.
What did she tell you about paying you back?
She said she'll get back to me. So I figured it would, like, she'd pay me back when we got back because we were having a great time. We both had fun. We went out to dinner, we went dancing, we went to clubs, we went and got VIP everything. We didn't have to pay for anything. And all she did was...
Why not?
Why not? Because the month before we had made a connection. Our friend knows a lot of like security guards, and he knows a lot of bouncers, so we got to get in free. We didn't have to wait in like 2-hour lines to get in the best clubs.
Okay. According to you, you had a good time.
Right.
Came back, she didn't pay.
Right.
Go.
I never agreed to pay. When she said that the hotel, the price of it, I said that's way too high and I'd rather just stay at my family's house because I can stay there for free.
So why didn't you?
Because when I told them that, they said, just don't worry about it.
And somebody dragged you on the plane?
Well, you know, it's my 21st birthday. I was trying to distance myself anyways, and that's why...
I'm asking you, somebody dragged you on the plane?
No.
Well, if you didn't want to go, why did you go?
Because they said, just don't worry about the costs.
Well, why would you think that they would take you away on vacation?
Because that's what they said.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
I actually have pictures, if I could show you, of her having a good time dancing.
I don't care whether she had a good time or whether she had a lousy time. It's irrelevant to me.
Your Honor, I was trying to get out of the vacation because I didn't want to go with them. And when they said, just come on, please go, I decided, fine, I'll go. Because they said, don't worry about any of the costs, don't worry about anything,
Your Honor,
just
may I
go.
say something, please?
Step up. Tell me your name.
My name is Lori Irigoyen. And we spoke to her the night before we left, and she said, yeah, she couldn't afford it. But then we said, okay, we've still put it on a credit card. You need to pay us back, or you need to pay Ashley back. She didn't want to do that. Well, you can't.
Well, what did she say?
She said, no, I don't have to pay you back. If I don't go, I shouldn't have to pay you back.
Exactly.
Why did you call the night before?
Because I had talked to them recently before that also, because what I was doing was I was talking to my backgrounds investigator, and when I was going through looking at the lie detector test and polygraph...
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Well,
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
What it is I'm going for a future career in the criminal justice, and so I was talking to a backgrounds investigator, and she was showing me the polygraph test that you would have to be taking, and it had to ask questions.
Business owner Regina Shields is suing her ex-boyfriend, auto detailer Byron Germany, for kicking in her front door and assaulting her. Byron says Regina tried to lock him out of his own home.
Quiet in the courtroom. Yeah, this is case number 451 on the calendar in the matter of Shields versus Germany. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Shields, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, and you lived together for how long?
We never actually lived together. We were just boyfriend and girlfriend.
Did you live together?
When we dated, we stayed together. As far as I was concerned, we was together and staying together.
According to your complaint, last summer you were living together.
We didn't actually live together. He has his own residence and I have my residence, but we weren't.
Well, it's interesting. You said that he came home last summer, I think sometime in July. He came home in the morning because he had been out all night and you refused to let him in the house.
Okay.
Is that what you told me? Let me see.
I can explain.
You know, I'm getting older. Maybe I misread what you said. You said on July 1st, 2004, Byron, that would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Came home after being out all night. He didn't have the key to get into the house and started banging in the door. I refused to allow him back into the home since he refused to stop continually disrespecting our relationship. Well, that sounds to me like he was coming home.
Actually, he had already been told not to come back around. We had already had a falling out and breaking up. I asked him not to return anymore. I told him that, I didn't want to be bothered because of the things he had been doing in the relationship as far as, staying out, other women, different things of that nature. And so I had already called it quits.
So that's in July, and you say that when he came home in July, he assaulted you. So tell me what happened.
He arrived at the house. It was early morning. Him and his friend had pulled up from somewhere, and he was knocking on the door, sitting through the door, opened the door, that he wanted to talk. And I explained to him that, there was no need for him to be there because I wasn't going to open the door and I wasn't going to talk to him. So he needed to leave. He got irate and started, pushing on the screen door, yanking at things, just out of control. And so, I continued to let him know that the door wasn't coming open. He needed to leave or I was going to call the police. So he ran around to the side of the house and he got the garage door open. He kicked it in. He came into the garage. It's another door that allows you to come into the house. He must have got a hold of something in the garage and pried.
Whatever, he got into the house.
No, he didn't get into the house that way.
Did he get into the house some way? I want him in the house already.
Yes, ma'am, he came.
I have other things to do today.
Okay, I'm sorry. He came around the front and he yanked the screen door open. He kicked the front door and he came in and he assaulted me.
Well, tell me what happened when he kicked the door in.
When he kicked the door in, he started grabbing at me and started fighting me, and he punched me in my mouth.
He hit you in the face?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
And then what happened?
I had already called the police, was bleeding. Police got there. He told the story that I hit him with a glass. So therefore, they said that, if it's a dispute between both of you guys are saying that you each assaulted each other so you both could go to jail. I wasn't really prepared to go to jail. I wanted him to leave. And at that time, I just asked them to make him leave. And they did. My mother was going to escort me to the hospital up the street, and they made sure that the situation was calm down.
So you went to the hospital. What happened at the hospital?
Went to the hospital, was there for a little bit. They got me back and started to, stitch up my lip and everything.
How many stitches did you have in your lip?
6 stitches.
You have a bill from the hospital?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Let me just give her doctor bills and everything.
Now, after that date on July 1st, when was the next time you saw Byron?
Well, he continued to, come around and continued to knock on the door and make little threats and different things like that. But the next actual event where I did actually have to file charges again was January the 4th this year.
And what happened?
I do have videotape. He came over again, banging, ranting and raving. He kicked the front door in that time, which I have videotape of that. And he left. I called the police, made another...
He's not the father of that baby, is he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, it's not like...
This is just videotape of today, January 4th, 2005, where he's been kicking at my door, just continuing to destroy the door that he's already destroyed numerous times. Byron, Germany. Black, 38, about 180-some pounds. So he drove off, just kicked the door, just kicked it all apart. And he kicked my window, trying to kick my window out, but he kicked the screen, broke the screen door. He couldn't get in the door, he just tried to kick, he just keep destroying the property. Just keep destroying it.
When was the last time you had sexual relations with the defendant?
Not since the first incident. We haven't really been communicating.
You mean not since July 1st?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you told me before you started that you had already told him not to come around. Was that before or after you became pregnant?
I guess it was around about that time. It was all pretty close together, Things are just spinning out of hand at that time.
Yeah, and I was there the day before that.
Oh, yeah, I know you were. And then you took off and you stayed out all night.
Well, we went to the casino.
So?
When we go to the casino, your phone doesn't work in there. And apparently, I guess she was trying to call me and she didn't get through.
Well, when did you tell her that?
Upset.
Shh, listen to me.
In the casino, 24 hours.
Am I speaking to you? When did you tell your girlfriend that you were going to be out all night and you wouldn't be coming home.
I didn't think I had to report to her. She knew I was with him and we were going to go do a couple things.
You picked him, my friend.
Yeah.
That same thing I tell him.
And it's a pattern.
Just a second. Do you and I have to have a...
Okay.
Ask him to come up here, would you, please?
Step up.
Right here. I run this show. Do you understand? You don't speak until I speak to you. If I ask to speak to you, you'll stand up there, you'll tell me your name, you'll answer questions that I ask you. Other than that, I don't want to hear from you. We understand each other?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Perfect.
Yana, when she goes places, she don't call me and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I mean, she does it, and when she gets back...
Well, let me ask you this question, Sir Lancelot. How would you feel if she went out with her friends, or with whomever, and stayed out until 8 o'clock in the morning, didn't call you, and you were home all night waiting for her to come home?
I didn't stay out to 8 o'clock.
I'm asking you a question. This is my story. I'm allowed to make up the facts in my story. How would you feel if your girlfriend, who you were expecting to come home, stayed out all night and traipsed in at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning? How would you feel?
I mean, I'd probably be a little upset, but I mean...
Ooh! You'd probably be a little upset, Byron.
I wouldn't double lock the doors and block your phone numbers out from the phone so you can't call or get in.
Well, that should have told you something, my dear. She didn't want to hear from you. She didn't want to see you. She was really annoyed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your friend says, what am I going to be friendly with him for? He's an idiot.
Right.
See? You knew you'd come in handy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Regina Shields says ex-boyfriend Byron Germany kicked in her front door and split her lip. Byron claims Regina injured herself when she swung a cup at him.
Byron, you can't give her a fat lip, my dear.
I didn't hit her on the lip. She hit me with the cup, and then on a moment...
Where did she hit you with a cup?
On my elbow.
What bone did she break?
She didn't break no, she swole my elbow out to there. But when, the police took forever getting there, but when the police did come there, I told them I wasn't trying to press no charges.
Well, how did her lip get split?
Well, her lip got split when she was swinging the cup. She hit her own self with the cup. And I was pushing her back, and I think when I hit her hand, it hit back and hit her lip. I know it sounds wild, but that's what happened.
It's possible. And it all wouldn't have happened if you hadn't kicked in the door.
I didn't kick in the door, I pushed it open.
Pushed it in, kicked it, shh. Pushed it, kicked it. It all wouldn't have happened if you just went home, let her cool off, go back to the casino, lose another couple of bucks. You could have done a whole bunch of things instead of pushing in the door.
When she gets angry like that, she stay like that for some days.
Then what you do is you stay away for a few days.
But I had something in the house I needed to get, and I was
What?
I had some money in there. I wanted to get my money in. Then I was going to go and let her do her routine where she'd be hot for a week or two.
Now, what about this video that I just saw of you driving back and forth and then leaving the house?
I wasn't driving back and forth. I was backing out.
Okay, you were backing out. Why were you there?
It's my house. It's my place.
How long has it been since you lived there?
I mean,
Byron! How long has it been since you lived there?
I'm with her 24/7 there. I'm just off and on.
I'm talking about January.
That was, I think that was July on the video. What's the date on that?
January 4th.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah, 'cause I was back. I forgot. So many incidents. You don't understand, y'all. There's so many incidents I can't remember.
What were you doing there?
I think that day, I think I didn't answer my phone. I remember right. And I was trying to call, and she put me on the block and other stuff. And then when you pull up to the door, we got a little surveillance, and she likes to talk through the camera to you, and it irritates you because you're standing there and can't get in your own place.
I got a restraining order.
I see it.
Yeah. Here's the protection order. That was for what I had to file on the 4th of January, and I actually did have them charge him for kicking the door down that time.
That restraining order is dismissed.
That was from the first incident.
This one is dated the 4th of January, 2005. It was filed.
What, is that the restraining order?
That's the complaint.
The complaint, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't want you around anymore, Byron.
I mean, I don't have no problem with it. Like I said, my lease is up.
When was the last time he lived there?
It's been before the first incident.
Before July?
Yes.
Okay, and he hasn't been living there since July?
Yeah, I've been there off and on. I've been there.
What do you mean off and on? You've been
like,
there?
I'll come, she'll get mad, and I'll go. I mean, I don't have no problem.
Byron, really, unless you want to spend a lot of time in jail, you should stay away from her.
I'm not trying to spend no time in jail.
What I'm telling you is I'm giving you the best possible advice, Byron. If you don't want to spend a lot of time in jail, you're going to stay away from her, because once you've had a history of domestic violence, eventually a judge is going to get fed up with you and say, Byron, you don't seem to get it. And maybe you'll get it if you do 60 days.
But I never been charged with, I've been charged, but everything's been dismissed.
What I'm telling you, Byron, is she doesn't want to see you anymore.
Then she should stop calling me and telling me, what are you doing? You ain't coming by here.
You have proof that she does that?
You're going to ask her, but I know she's not going to tell you the truth.
Right.
She just gets in those moods. Like I said, if I stay out all night, or if I don't answer my phone, or she thinks she hears women in the background, she's going to go off and she's going to do what she does now. And that's the only reason why the doors end up like that. But as far as that fat lip, I never put my hands on her. She did it with herself with the cup.
You did. You put your hands on her. I'm not saying that you hit her. I'm not saying that with all the scuffling, that maybe the cup hit her lip. That's possible. But for the fact that you kicked in the door or pushed in the door, it wouldn't have happened.
I understand that. One time before, she's got that little bump right there. She had a hammer, hit me with a hammer, swinging a hammer at me. And when I pushed her back, she bumped her head with the hammer.
He's extremely violent. Extremely violent.
Oh, she's extremely
just
violent.
a second. You have a bad temper?
I can.
Yeah, I know. And I know that you do. And I know that when he pushed his way into your house that day, things got hot and heavy. Right?
Really, I'm scared of him.
Now, listen to me. Things got hot and heavy. Is that right?
It's already heated, but I wouldn't hit him because I know he'll hit me back.
I
know he'll hit me back.
Yeah, I've been hit with bricks, 2x4s.
Well, then you're an idiot.
Cell phone.
Then listen to me. Then you're an idiot. If you've been hit with bricks and hammers and glasses and cups and you keep going back, then something's not right. Then your friend says, what am I going to be friendly with him for? He's an idiot, right?
Right.
See? You knew you'd come in handy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Regina Shields claims ex-boyfriend Byron Germany kicked in her front door and assaulted her.
Yana, can we put him over there with her? She's gonna say I'm an idiot.
Well, don't you think you're an idiot? Listen, if you get hit with bricks and hammers and cups and she's vicious and you keep going back.
Yana, it's not like she...
Shh. Does that make you smart?
No, don't make you smart, but she's not beating me, literally beating me, but I'm saying she will hit you with something.
Protecting
She'll
her.
break a curtain rod up and hit you.
If he got... Just wait a second. So now I've got Byron. I've got curtain rods, bricks.
It gets worse, sir.
Hammers.
2x4s.
2x4s.
And cell phones.
Cups. Cell phones.
Yeah, cell phones. House phones. We had to replace the house phone 3 times because she wants to beat you with them.
Byron, you're right. Go over on that side.
Nah, I'm just saying. I mean, I be trying to give him advice too, like he just need to leave her alone. You know?
See? Wisdom.
Yeah. You know, she's complaining about the doors. I mean, I have damages too. She tore up cars. She done kicked doors, and I got a Hummer. She beat it with an iron, like you iron. I was going to pull out the driveway, then bam.
Ask him why he stays.
If I ask him why he stays, we may turn into an R-rated program. Why do you stay, Byron?
I mean, I love her to death. She's a good girl when she want to be, but what I'm trying to say to you, I mean, she does things too. I mean, I bought a car and I only had it 3 days, and it got my cousin. I know it sounds strange. My cousin hit me on the expressway, knocked me to the guardrail. I only had the car 3 days, and she said, "That's what you get for not giving me no money." I mean, that's not right. She was in the car with me. We both could have ended up seriously hurt.
He's trying to say I'm money hungry. That's what he's trying to say.
Well, maybe you are and maybe you're not. Anyway, Byron, I don't know whether she loves you or not, but all I can tell you is if you don't stay away from her, there's going to be a problem. And you're going to have this baby, and then there are going to be a whole host of other problems. Do you understand? Because you're going to want to see this baby, you're going to want to visit with this baby, and unless you learn to control yourself, and she learns to control herself, because my sense is that she knows how to get your goat. But you can't touch her.
No, she kicked his car before. He just bought a car.
Listen to me. I believe she's got a bad temper.
Can I say something, Judge Judy, please?
Sure.
I know when a bad situation is getting ready to get out of hand, the only thing I ask of him is just leave. When I get angry, I can easily go and do things like that to his property when he does to where I live, but I don't do that. I just ask that he leave, and if he doesn't leave, I call the police.
Listen to me. I know you sound as if butter would melt in your mouth. What he's saying is that when you're not here in a courtroom situation, you can have a really hot, volatile temper. That's what he's saying. And I have a tendency to believe him, because I think that he doesn't do the right thing, but I don't think he's full of baloney. And I think you are a little bit. I'm not saying he does the right thing. He doesn't do the right thing. Staying out all night, not the right thing. Not keeping in touch with you, not the right thing. If he's fooling around, not the right thing. But you know how to get to him, so that when you bring the decibel level up to a certain point, and then you say, now you have to go home, Byron. Well, you've already got him all worked up. Her lip got split, and her lip wouldn't have gotten split if you hadn't punched in the door. So you're going to pay for all those medical bills, which come to which come to about $630. Better find somebody to fix your door for about $500.
Yana, I didn't hit her in the lip. I shouldn't have to pay.
I don't care whether you hit her in the lip or not, but for the fact that you pushed in the door, there wouldn't have been a scuffle and her lip wouldn't have gotten busted.
All she had to do was answer the door. He could tell you. He was right
Just
there.
a second. She didn't want to answer the door. She doesn't have to answer the door. There is nothing written in the Constitution, Byron, that provides that she has to answer the door because you knock on it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,130. I suggest you stay far away from each other unless it's pursuant to a court order of visitation for this new blessed event that's coming next month. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have a baby coming. We're going to have to work it out sooner or later and take care of the baby and do what's right for the baby.
It's his lifestyle choices and his disregard for relationships.
That's not my friend. After the day, he's not my friend.
All she said was you hit her in the mouth. That was it.
I just wish he
that
could
was
go
the
on
end
the
of
other
it.
side. I would have been better just standing there by myself.
I still have feelings for him. I think I'm going to always have feelings for him.
Hopefully we'll get together and get it all worked out, or be the best of friends, and for the baby's sakes, and you know, keep everything going like it's supposed to be.
I think I'm doing the best thing by just severing the relationship right now.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम दोस्तों, आज हमारा टॉपिक है यूट्यूब के अंदर जो है, यूट्यूब के अंदर या बाहर, नहीं यार ऐसा कोई टॉपिक नहीं है। हाँ जी, आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे कि यूट्यूब के जो वॉच टाइम और सब्सक्राइबर कितने रिक्वायर्ड होते हैं और इसका दौरानिया क्या होता है। क्या अगर मेरी एक वीडियो के ऊपर व्यू आ रहे हैं मुसलसल, एक महीने में उसने 200-300 घंटे पूरे किए, फिर आगे 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 एक साल जब मुकम्मल हुआ, तो क्या पिछला जो इसका दौरानिया है जिसमें आवर्स कंप्लीट हुए थे, क्या वो उसमें काउंट होंगे? और क्या जो सब्सक्राइबर हमारे जो हम गेन कर चुके होते हैं, टाइम ऑफ मोनेटाइजेशन, क्या ये 360 जो डे है इसमें इसके दौरान हासिल होने वाला वॉच टाइम और हासिल होने वाले सब्सक्राइबर काउंट होंगे या नहीं होंगे, या हर साल हमें वॉच टाइम अलग से पूरा करना होगा। मिसाल के तौर पे आप अगर एक साल के अंदर वॉच टाइम पूरा नहीं कर सके, फ़र्ज़ करें आपने 3000 घंटे पूरे किए, क्या वो अगले साल में वो कंसीडर होगा या वो अगले साल में ज़ीरो हो जाएगा? नहीं, ऐसी बात नहीं है। इसका तरीक़ाकार ये है कि सब्सक्राइबर तो आपके स्टिल वही रहते हैं, यानी जो आपने हासिल किए या जो चल रहे हैं तो वो आपके काउंट हो जाते हैं और वही काउंटिंग रहेगी जो आपके मौजूदा हैं। लेकिन वॉच टाइम के लिए मसला ये है कि 360 करंट डे का आपका वॉच टाइम कंसीडर होता है और काउंट होता है फॉर मोनेटाइजेशन। मिसाल के तौर पर जैसे जैसे दिन आगे चले जाते हैं तो बस YouTube वॉच टाइम जो कंसीडर करता है वो 360 डे का ही करता है। फ़र्ज़ करें आपका एक जो दिन गुजरता है वो आगे पिछले डेज में वो माइनस हो जाता है, जो उसका वॉच टाइम आप गेन कर चुके होते हो वो ज़ीरो होता जाता है फॉर मोनेटाइजेशन। वैसे आप लाइफ टाइम वॉच टाइम जब चेक करेंगे वो अवेलेबल होगा, लेकिन यानी YouTube का कहना यह है कि आप जो वॉच टाइम है 360 दिन के अंदर अंदर पूरा करेंगे, लेकिन अगर आप पूरा नहीं करते तो पिछला वॉच टाइम जो है वो माइनस होता जाता है और नेक्स्ट जो है वो ऐड होता जाता है। तो इसलिए आप अपना अच्छा कंटेंट और अच्छी वीडियो बनाएं ताकि आप जल्द से जल्द अपना वॉच टाइम पूरा कर सकें, अपना क्राइटेरिया पूरा कर सकें फॉर मोनेटाइजेशन। हाँ बिल्कुल, जो सब्सक्राइबर हैं उनके ऊपर कोई असर नहीं पड़ता। जो सब्सक्राइबर हैं वो जितने आपने हासिल किए 1000 जैसे पूरे होंगे, चाहे आपके 10 साल भी गुजर जाएं तो वो आप एलिजिबल ही रहेंगे फॉर मोनेटाइजेशन। तो ये है क्राइटेरिया मोनेटाइजेशन का। और उसके अलावा आपकी 2 स्टेप वेरिफिकेशन ऑन होनी चाहिए और आपके ऊपर कोई स्ट्राइक आपके चैनल पे नहीं होनी चाहिए और इसका एडवांस फीचर एक्टिव होना चाहिए। ये 3-4 चीज़ें हैं जो मोनेटाइजेशन के लिए YouTube की क्राइटेरिया का हिस्सा है। अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छी लगी है और आप हमारे चैनल पे नए हैं तो हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें, वीडियो को लाइक कर दें और अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर कर दें। और किसी मैटर जो है वो YouTube के किसी मैटर के हवाले से अगर आपको कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन रिक्वायर्ड है तो आप मुझे कमेंट सेक्शन में बता दें, तो मैं उस हवाले से वीडियो बना के आपकी रहनुमाई कर दूंगा। और अब तक के लिए खुदा हाफिज़, अपना ख्याल रखिएगा। लेकिन अगर आपने मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें। बहुत शुक्रिया।